the Huta regime.
He talked about Burkina Faso's gold, saying that we use it to protect ourselves and all that. First of all, it's Burkina Faso's gold. It's not his gold. That's the first thing. What business is it of his? It's none of his business. It's Burkina Faso. It's Burkina Faso's gold. It doesn't concern him. Second thing, he's lying. Because Burkina Faso never had any gold reserves until we came along. We are the ones who started setting aside gold for the treasury of Burkina Faso. Otherwise, there wasn't a single gram of gold reserves in Burkina. That means he's a liar again. Another thing, when he says we use it to protect ourselves and all that, we are free. If the people have decided that we should govern them, we have a duty to protect ourselves. So we are free. What business is it of his? And the part that hurt me the most, not because he's a general or because he's American or anything like that, but because he's black. It really hurts to see a black man being used to fight against another black man. And this didn't start just now. It has to stop.
To protect the junta regime.
He talked about Burkina Faso's gold, saying that we use it to protect ourselves and all that. First of all, it's Burkina Faso's gold. It's not his gold. And that's the first thing. What business is it of his? It's none of his business. It's Burkina Faso. It's Burkina Faso's gold. It doesn't concern him. Second thing, he's lying. Because Burkina Faso never had any gold reserves until we came along. We are the ones who started setting aside gold for the treasury of Burkina Faso. Otherwise, there wasn't a single gram of gold reserves in Burkina. That means he's a liar again. Another thing, when he says we use it to protect ourselves and all that, we are free. If the people have decided that we should govern them, we have a duty to protect ourselves. So we are free. What business is it of his? And the part that hurt me the most, not because he's a general or because he's American or anything like that, but because he's black. It really hurts to see a black man being used to fight against another black man. And this didn't start just now. It has to stop.
To protect the junta regime.
He talked about Burkina Faso's gold, saying that we use it to protect ourselves and all that. First of all, it's Burkina Faso's gold. It's not his gold. And that's the first thing. What business is it of his? It's none of his business. It's Burkina Faso. It's Burkina Faso's gold. It doesn't concern him. Second thing, he's lying. Because Burkina Faso never had any gold reserves until we came along. We are the ones who started setting aside gold for the treasury of Burkina Faso. Otherwise, there wasn't a single gram of gold reserves in Burkina. That means he's a liar again. Another thing, when he says we use it to protect ourselves and all that, we are free. If the people have decided that we should govern them, we have a duty to protect ourselves. So we are free. What business is it of his? And the part that hurt me the most, not because he's a general or because he's American or anything like that, but because he's black. It really hurts to see a black man being used to fight against another black man. And this didn't start just now. It has to stop. It was a fight that had to be fought. It was utter madness in the world. It was a fight that had to be fought, and Africa took part. And today, we can say thank you, because the people who made the greatest sacrifice were the Soviet people. No one lost as many people, no one experienced as much destruction during the war as the Soviet people. So we are grateful, and I think it was necessary for the world to be as it is today, and for Africa to be able to hope to carry on as well.
Thank you very much for your answer. Mr. President, you recently declared that Burkina Faso will be the graveyard of terrorism. Are you setting concrete deadlines to completely defeat it? And how do you see Russia's future assistance regarding this? one of the main pillars of the Russia-Burkina Faso partnership?
I said that because in Burkina Faso, we are working on the fact that today there are many criminals being recruited to come and fight in Burkina Faso. This is not terrorism. I don't even know how to describe it. It's criminality. These are bandits who have been armed by the imperialists to destabilize us, to keep us in a state of perpetual war, and to exploit us. And so, as I said, we are working to make Burkina Faso the graveyard of terrorism. When someone is recruited to come and fight in Burkina, it should be so that they would rather commit suicide. And that will happen because they equip them, they train them, and they give them technology, these criminals. But we are constantly adapting. Right now, we are in a rather unique phase. They have acquired new technologies, new combat techniques, and so on, thanks to the support of these imperialists. Now that we have studied the situation, and we are going to respond immediately to all of this. So you will see, terrorism will come to an end. I don't want to set a deadline, but terrorism will end, and very soon, as quickly as we possibly can. And from Russia, all we are really asking for is mainly intellectual support, help with intellectual training for our military industry, which we need to develop, and help to train young people in everything we can develop to confront this war. This is the part that interests us the most.
Mm-hmm. And more specifically, what materials or perhaps what equipment interests you the most?
First of all, I want to say thank you, because Russia is one of the few countries in the world that has provided us with military equipment to help us fight this war. So that is significant. Apart from Russia and China, there is no one else. Otherwise, it's even worse elsewhere. There, we want to pay, but they refuse to sell to us. But now, they have understood that we are at war. Russia is also conducting its special operation. We know it's not easy, but if, despite that, they were able to provide equipment and come to give it to Burkina Faso, I think that's already very important. But as I said, Russia is also helping to train us. For everything we purchase, Russian soldiers train Burkinabe soldiers on how to use this equipment and all that. But we want to continue developing our own military industry, Vokumpu, with the support of Russia, or Roseto, which I would say is far ahead of the world, Oku, when it comes to weaponry. So we need to have this close collaboration so that we can make progress in our war.
Thank you very much. In recent years, there have been major changes for the Sahel and for each of the AES countries in particular, such as, for example, the definitive break with ECOWAS, and also the adoption of their own symbols, like the common flag. In this context, how would you describe Burkina Faso before and after? And how do you assess the alliance of Sahel states as a format for regional cooperation? Are there any plans for expansion, perhaps?
Yes. To understand the AES today, you just have to look at the African youth. I think that African youth are hopeful that this is a model of unity. And for us, the leaders of the AES, it puts pressure on us, and we have to succeed, because Africa now needs to unite. We were in an organization that was supposed to be one of solidarity, cooperation, mutual assistance, and all that. But you can't be in an organization where you call each other brothers, and then at some point they cut off the electricity so that patients die in hospitals. The economy comes to a halt, and banks are closed, so you can't access anything. Transfers you need to buy basic necessities, medicine, and so on. These were blocked for some Sahelian peoples. They even formed an army to come and fight against Sahelian peoples. While terrorism has been raging for decades, they have been incapable of sending a single soldier to help fight. These are not brothers. We shouldn't fool ourselves. And it's not the people, it's the leaders. Otherwise, when you look at the people, even in these ECOWAS countries and all, the people support and understand the momentum of the AES. So that reassures us and encourages us to organize ourselves, to be a model, so that in the future, it can expand. But in order to expand, we need to establish strong foundations. And that's exactly what we are doing right now. So that's more or less what led us to withdraw and to organize ourselves in order to relaunch.
Mr. President, for many people in Africa, you are more than just the president of a country. You are seen as the embodiment of a renewed Pan-Africanism. Why does Africa today, in particular, need, if I may say so, a new Thomas Sankara? How does it feel to take on all this responsibility at only 37 years old?
Age doesn't matter, but I can say it's a lot of pressure. It's pressure. You shouldn't let it turn into delusions of grandeur. It's pressure. For me, it's a message that the youth are sending me, and that puts even more pressure on me. If I used to manage to sleep 2 hours, now I've cut my sleep down to just 1 hour. And if you shouldn't sleep anymore. Because they must have seen something surely that we're doing. Something that, in their view, could help Africa get out of this situation. For us, it encourages us, it remotivates us to keep fighting. That's why I say it's pressure. It's a very heavy responsibility. And I can promise that all we can do is not to betray, to keep following our path of Pan-African struggle. We hope that it will inspire all African youth, and that the Pan-Africanism we long for so much can become a reality. Because Africa has suffered a lot. It's time for us to unite, to work together, to develop ourselves. Just as Africans go elsewhere to see the world, to see money and everything else there is. In Africa, it's possible. It is possible. So this is our mission, and we are going to take it on.
Mr. President, more and more African countries are asserting their sovereignty and demanding the withdrawal of Western troops from their soil. Recently, for example, Chad, Senegal, and Côte d'Ivoire have made similar requests. In your opinion, where did the West go wrong in its relations with the African continent?
Well, what I know is our own situation. We were at war. We lived with Western troops and all that. We saw, and we decided to part ways with those troops because it doesn't fit with our struggle. On the contrary, it actually amplifies the problem. As for the other countries that have separated, I can't speak for them because they made their own decisions to separate. But then President Macron said that he was the one who told them to find a solution and all that. I can't get into that debate. Only they know the truth. But one thing is certain. You can't talk about sovereignty while having another country's army on your soil telling you what to do. The economy, education, the entire development of a country is based on the military. So every country should develop its own army, be sovereign and independent. And that's exactly what we are doing. When I look at the case of Burkina, these foreign armies were present, and that contributed to weakening the Burkinabe army. They stopped recruiting. They are the ones who say what volume to recruit. There was more weaponry, equipment and everything. Even back in 1988 under Sankara, we were better equipped than, well, 10 or 20 years later. And in the end, terrorism entered the country. When terrorism arrived, we didn't have an army. We are still suffering from it today. It's in the midst of war that we are now building an army. So it's normal that it takes a bit of time. We are suffering, but we have to build an army. And when we come out of this war, we must come out stronger. That's what I'm saying. When I look at the statistics of the Soviet army, the number of men they lost, but when they came out of the war, they emerged much stronger. And today, no army has the equipment that the Russian army has. So we too must learn from our war. To come out of the war, we have to be very strong. Sovereignty begins with the army. Once you have a strong army, all the other sectors can easily develop. That's what I can say. That's what led Burkina, in any case, to separate from those armies.
All right. Another topic that persists and is important is the Ukrainian issue. Russia declares itself ready to negotiate without preconditions, while Ukraine constantly imposes constraints. Moreover, Kyiv supports terrorists in the Sahel. In your opinion, who does not want peace for our two countries?
I think that even before now, there was the Turkish President Erdogan, who managed to create a framework for dialogue. And I believe that the two presidents met at that time. It was only the beginning of the operation. All of us hoped that it would lead somewhere, that the weapons would fall silent, and that everyone would return to good intentions. But it was the Westerners who came and told the Ukrainian president not to accept. We followed all that, and in the end, what did it lead to? Well, I think all of this falls under manipulation. I think they were manipulated. Otherwise, the Ukrainian and Russian peoples were, well, it was the Soviet Union. They are brothers. How is it that hatred and Russophobia could be cultivated within this population? The war did not start in 2022. It started in 2014. This is also a reality that many people perhaps don't know, or that people refuse to acknowledge. It was in 2014 that the war began. And today, people are surprised to see that others might be shifting the blame onto Russia and all that. When Russian-speaking civilians were being bombed in 2014, who was speaking out? There are images that still exist. People were locked inside houses and burned. There are images that are there, but action should have been taken all that time. They were manipulated. And today, the reality is plain to see. You see, all the aid that was given, it wasn't really aid. They were told to hand over their minerals. In reality, Ukraine no longer belongs to the Ukrainians. They were manipulated, and now they are the losers. All sectors will be managed by those who led them into this war. The hope was to weaken Russia, but Russia is coming out of this war even stronger. So I think they need to understand this and come back to their senses in order to negotiate and achieve peace, because they have declared that they support the terrorists. You all followed that. And we can also see on the ground that they are indeed supporting the terrorists. This is not a good war. I think they are completely mistaken. They need to come back to their senses. In any case, they can support them, but we will fight them and we will win. So if they still haven't understood by now that this whole maneuver was meant to bring them down and seize their critical minerals, they can keep waging war. So that's what I can say about the situation. Every people must understand that they need to avoid being manipulated and getting into a very complicated situation. That's more or less what I can say.
Thank you very much for that answer. Mr. President, what do you think of the Sputnik news agency and its role in the African media landscape? What makes its content appealing to African audiences? And in your opinion, what is the main difference with mainstream media?
The press is very important. Communication, you know that it's through the press that people's minds are shaped. So you already play a very important role by bringing out a part of the truth about history and the present. You must continue in this direction to awaken people's awareness. Because you see, it's all this Western press and all that which have contributed to putting the African people's consciousness to sleep. It's their narrative that gets through and all that. And we've been able to realize that often they invent big lies just to divide people, to allow their policies to operate and do whatever they want, to prepare the ground and everything. So you need to do the opposite of what they do. That is, contribute to awakening people's awareness. And you have an important role to play, especially in Africa itself, so that Africans understand their own history, wake up and stop believing the lies of these Western media outlets. And you see, when it doesn't suit them, when you tell them the truth, they shut down the media. But here, when a media outlet is shut down, it becomes a huge issue. And what's unfortunate is to see even Africans supporting this. Over there, they shut down media outlets whenever they want, whenever it doesn't please them. Or those same people don't say a word. But when we shut down media outlets, you see so-called intellectual Africans on TV panels. We don't know what they've taken, but it's dangerous. So you have a very important role to play, as do all the media, in awakening the consciousness of Africans. There you go. I said that we are here so that young people wake up. We're not here with the intention of looting or anything like that. We want to build Africa. And if young people aren't awakened, they'll be lulled to sleep. These Western media sing our praises, saying we're doing well, we're doing well. But no, that's not true. We want people to know when things aren't going well for us. That's it, and for others to take over when needed. But when they also lie and say things aren't going well, we'll prove the opposite. So keep communicating and raising awareness in Africa.
Mhm. Thank you very much. Mr. President, following the statements made by the AFRICOM commander before the US Senate, your government responded firmly, denouncing unfounded accusations regarding Burkina Faso's sovereign choices. What do you say to those, especially in Washington, who continue to question the legitimacy of your current partnerships, particularly with Russia? And how do you intend to defend Burkina Faso's image on the international stage in the face of this kind of rhetoric?
In any case, we are free to establish relations with whomever we choose. That is what independence means. So on this matter, they can continue to think whatever they want. As for us, we will go wherever we want, as long as the partnership can, in any case, be mutually beneficial for both parties. Regarding those remarks, as you mentioned, we protested through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That was one thing, but I don't know what happened with that general. There is still a problem, and I would perhaps like him to admit his mistake if he was sent, and to understand that this was not the right mission. If he was misled, he should say so publicly, or otherwise admit before the Senate that he was mistaken. Or also, if it was done with bad intentions, well, we will confront him as we should, because everything he said is a lie. And it's really shameful to see an adult lie, to see an adult, a general officer of a great army lie. This is very serious. First of all, he talked about Burkina's gold being used for what? For us, to protect ourselves and all that. First, it's Burkina's gold, it's not his gold. That's the first thing. What business is it of his? It's none of his business. It's Burkina's gold. It doesn't concern him. Second thing, he's lying, because Burkina never had any gold reserves until we came. We were the ones who started setting aside gold in the treasury of Burkina Faso. Otherwise, there wasn't a single gram of gold reserves in Burkina. So that means he's a liar, again. And another thing, when he says that, we use it to protect ourselves and all that. We're free. If the people have decided that we should govern them, we have a duty to protect ourselves. So we are free. What business is it of his? And the part that hurt me the most, not because he's a general or because he's American or anything like that, but because he's black. And it really hurts to see a black man being used to fight against another black man. And this didn't start just now. It has to stop. You see, it's very dangerous. Even Libya, who destroyed Libya, once again, they used a black man. In movies, back in the day, in America, black people always played the bad guy. We told ourselves, it's just in the movies. But why do black people have to keep playing the bad guy? And I think that if he heard this interview, he should look at himself in the mirror, feel ashamed, come out and say, well, I was given a false report. I regret it. He needs to say it publicly. If it was a false report, then it was made, because it's possible. It's possible that he was given a false report, that he should come out with it, because as you saw, when I take another neighbor, again, as I say among us, Black, the Ivorian Minister of Defense, who goes around, travels to Turkey, meets the Turkish Minister of Defense, and tells him, you shouldn't sell us weapons. You see how much that hurts. When it's a black person who behaves like that, it really hurts. Did we make a false report? Let him come out and deny it. If he was sent to create a problem in Burkina, as they are used to doing, well, we'll get ready. We'll be waiting for them. Because this has to stop now. The black race should not be used to fight against black people. Every time it's the same thing. It's always the same. And that's what we deplore. And it really hurt us to see that it was a black person making these statements. It's true that they may regret it through various channels. They're trying to make up for it. Now that it was said publicly, it needs to be made right publicly. That's how it is for us. We're no longer engaging in diplomatic hypocrisy, as we like to say. Saying things loudly and clearly, And then coming back later to say, no, we're sorry, we didn't mean it. That's not enough. It needs to be said publicly. So I invite them to make amends, to say it publicly, because African youth have understood. Black youth around the world have understood. This kind of manipulation doesn't work anymore. That's how it's always been, using false pretexts in hopes of achieving other goals. That doesn't work anymore. So it's unfortunate, but Burkina Faso is staying true to its path. We will continue to develop. And he forgot to mention everything we are doing for Burkina Faso. What we are doing, no other regime has accomplished. That's it, the socio-economic development of Burkina Faso, who has done, look, we are building many health centers, equipping them with medical devices for examinations and lowering the costs of medical tests. Which regime has done the same? No one. We are taking action in agriculture, plowing farmers' fields for free. Our production is increasing and everything. Who has done that? No one. The army. We are creating a new army, and the Burkinabe army has never been as well and staffed and equipped as it is now. Who has done that? No regime. When it comes to employment, no regime has created as many jobs as we have. Industrialization. Maybe that's what bothers them. That's what they want to stop. So they have to make up lies. In any case, I invite them to rethink their approach. That's what I can say. It's a big lie, and it's unfortunate.
Your Excellency, welcome to Sputnik Africa. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation. It is a great honor for our agency.
Thank you.
Your Excellency, your visit is taking place as part of the celebrations for the 80th anniversary of Russia's victory in the Great Victory. Yesterday, you attended the parade on Red Square. What are your impressions of this experience? How significant were the celebrations?
But everyone has a different
Perhaps
story to tell.
which equipment impressed you
Shell,
most?
which says it's losing the Tampa market.
In Northeast Africa, precisely on the Horn of Africa.
The legendary T-34 tank that contributed to the victory all the way up to today's modern vehicles, the T-90s, and of course other types of missiles that have been developed. It made a big impression on us, taught us many lessons, and allowed us to see how Russia has evolved technologically in the military field from that great war up to today.
All right. Mr. President, why was it important for you to accept President Putin's invitation and join Russia in these celebrations?
It's important to me for several reasons. First of all, because it's an invitation from a friendly country. Russia and Burkina Faso are now working closely together. Our cooperation is quite strategic, which means we must come and take part alongside the Russian people. Secondly, in that same war, our ancestors also contributed to the liberation of Europe, to the fight against Nazism, which means we share a common history in celebrating this victory. That is very important. And another thing is that today, Russia and Burkina Faso are fighting the same battle. We are living in a world that I would describe as unilateral. We want a multipolar world. We want a world that is free, independent, a world of peace, where nations do not dictate to other nations what they should do and how they should be. So Russia is actively engaged in this struggle, which is also a fight for denazification, if I may say so. And so we too are engaged in the same kind of struggle against imperialism, which seeks to enslave us, which wants to keep us in bondage. So we therefore share the same perspectives. So it was very symbolic for us to come and take part alongside the Russian people in this celebration.
In particular, the Soviet people made a major contribution to defeating Nazism. And the people of Burkina Faso, as you rightly said, are now making efforts to fight and eradicate terrorism. Do you see any similarities between our two peoples, and how do these similarities manifest themselves more concretely?
Yes. I have learned many lessons from this celebration, and there are many similarities in the struggle we are currently waging. Look at the Soviet people who sacrificed nearly 27 million lives to achieve this victory. At one point, they could have said, "That's enough," signed an armistice, and given up. But it was their courage, tenacity, and resilience that made them continue the fight. And in the end, they won. Burkina Faso has been fighting against terrorism for 10 years. Now, it's not that there haven't been any deaths. There have been many deaths from that time up to today. But we do not give up because we know that we will achieve victory. And we continue this fight. So there is this mindset that unites us. And that's also what is very interesting in these moments.
And how do you analyze the influence of the Soviet victory in the Second World War on the process of decolonization in Africa? What would have happened if we can try to imagine to Africa if Nazism had won?
It contributed a lot, I can say. Now, if Nazism had won, I can't even imagine. But I imagine, people did not respect Black people. Even today, it continues. Black people have always been labeled as subhuman. Some actually saw us as animals. You've heard the stories of colonization, of slavery. Black people were tortured, displayed in cages like wild animals in Europe and so on. Black people were castrated to prevent them from even having offspring. Black people were treated as less than animals. You know that. In Congo, cardboard was considered more valuable than black skin. They preferred to dry rubber on Black people's skin rather than pay for cardboard to dry the rubber. Black people have suffered a lot. So slavery for centuries and centuries, colonization. This war, you see, they came and took our ancestors without their consent. They sent them to the slaughter on the front lines. And when they returned, you heard what happened in Senegal. When they tried to claim their money, they were killed. That is to say, they do not consider Black people. And yet they went to fight alongside so-called allies who treated them like that. But imagine if Nazism had won. It would have been a disaster. So that's why I say it was a fight that had to be fought. It was utter madness in the world. It was a fight that had to be fought, and Africa took part. And today we can say thank you, because the people who made the greatest sacrifice were the Soviet people. No one lost as many people. No one experienced as much destruction during the war as the Soviet people. So we are grateful, and I think it was necessary for the world to be as it is today, and for Africa to be able to hope to carry on as well.
Thank you very much for your answer. Mr. President, you recently declared that Burkina Faso will be the graveyard of terrorism. Are you setting concrete deadlines to completely defeat it? And how do you see Russia's future assistance regarding this, one of the main pillars of the Russia-Burkina Faso partnership?
All right, folks, welcome again. This is Frank. I am your host. This is the Revolutionary Repatriation Educational Lecture Series aspect of WCC every Sunday at 1 p.m. So as you come on, please share the live, and also please hit that thumb button, hit the red button, hit the blue button as well. Now, I allow this video to play because it is very important that our audience, our people, hear something of such. And I'm glad that we have no interest again, no more, in Western media. And the reason why I brought this video as well, because it relates to today's topic. Now, I allow this video to play for Russia name to be specifically called in this video, because I know whenever the imperialists, to be specific, the United States, to be specific, Washington, D.C., whenever they hear Russia, they tremble, they shake. And the reason why they shake, they themselves, they'll be frank here. They know Russia or the Russian are not bad people. They know Russia is not a bad country. They know it. You see, they know that the same way they fight for their interest, it is the same way Russia fight for her interest. And the truth here is, Washington, D.C., an imperialist nation, right? They do not compete. They cannot compete. If they compete, they lose. The only way they compete and win, they have to cheat. And the reason why they have come this far is because they've been cheating. They've been creating proxy war through organizations, through their military might, and through their IMF, their so-called United Nations, and their so-called World Bank, and their so-called propaganda machine with their media and with their so-called puppets. And by the way, puppet just means, in a French word, P-U-P, pop, it means small, right? And then pet, P-E-T, pet, your animal. It means small animal. So whenever African leaders, these African leaders are so more joyful, right, to be referred to as Western puppet. What these African leaders don't understand is that these African leaders who have joyed in being called Western puppet, it just simply means Washington, D.C. pets, Washington, D.C. small pets. It just simply means Emmanuel Macron, little pets. It just simply means a pet. When you walk in your dog to the back, what do? You put a leash on your dog and you hold the dog and you talk to the dog like dog. So these African leaders who love to be called puppet, it just means Emmanuel Macron dog. These African leaders who love to be called puppet, it just means Washington, D.C. dog. G-O-D, dog. It just means the Prime Minister of Britain, of England, right? It just means they are small dog. They are little dog. D-O-G. That's what puppet means. P-U-P-E-T. Puppet. Little dog. Little animal. Little pet. You are a pet. You control your pet. Your pet do not control you. That's how these African leaders who have joy in being called puppets, it just means Daniel Trump puppet, Daniel Trump small pet, Daniel Trump small dog, small animal, Biden dog, Obama dog, Emmanuel Macron dog. That's how these African leaders who love to be called puppet, that's what I mean. Dog, animal, pet, cat, my little cat, Western cat, Western dog, serving as president in Africa. Dog, pet, cat. That's what you guys are referred to. Now, let's get back to Russia. You know, there's a video that came out about the United States Congress. We are on their back. There's a video that came out. The United States Congress have finally admitted that. They have finally admitted that the approach or the approaches, if I can call it this way, that they have been taken. I didn't say it. Washington, D.C. said it. United States government said it. That the approaches they have been taking on the African continent, it is backfiring them. They have come to haunt them. Washington, D.C. said By them putting sanctions on African leaders, when African leaders bring a demand to the table and they don't like it, they put sanctions on African leaders, they have come to hunt them. Washington, D.C. said, but they're systematically, directly or indirectly, killing African leaders. Visionary leaders, not just leaders, but they are democratic leaders, they are visionary leaders. Washington, D.C. admitted that the fact that she killed Gaddafi on a false pretext, it have made Africans to realize that the United States is in a bad position, the worst position. And now, Washington, D.C. is saying, in reality, China is not bad. Russia is not bad. But all along they have tried to tarnish Russia. All along they have tried to tarnish China. It's not working because their propaganda, Africans are no longer buying into it. So now they are believing themselves that they have to take different approach towards Africa. But guess what? This is what we're going to tell them. America, we don't care what part of the world we live. We don't even care whether we live in US, whether we live in Africa, whether we live in China, whether we live in Russia, whether we live in Australia, you name it, or Canada, you name the place. We no longer trust you. And we will never, ever trust you. Because we have evidence or evidences as to why we will never, ever trust you. If it is meant for you to crouch, you will crouch. If it is meant for you to pay for visa and you get denied, just how Africans pay for visa and they get denied and their money stay there. If it is cost for you to apply for visa and you get denied and we eat your money through immigration, the same way you eat African money through immigration, if it costs for that to be done, it will be done. We don't trust you and we will never trust you because once upon a time, we trusted you. You enslaved us. Once upon a time, you came back and colonized us. Once upon a time, we began to fight for independence. And then you say, you are our friend. After you enslaved us for hundreds of years, you castrated us, you raped us, you beat us, lynched us, barbecue us, bar break us, you name the rest. Humiliated us, put us in cage. Oh, Sarah Wagner. You put us in cages. You said we were 3/5 of a lesser human being, and up to now, you still see us as 3/5 of a lesser human being. Why would you want to be friend of 3/5 of a lesser human being? You want us to trust you? You want us to believe you? You were the most savage, but afterward, you call us savages. When we have never enslaved you, when we have never colonized you, when we have never stored your land, if you have one, when we have never exploited your resources ever in history, if you have some, we have never ever sanctioned your nation or overthrown any government of yours. Never in history can we see it. When time to time you have created proxy war, you created organizations. We have never done anything to you. Racism, we have never created anyone against you. But yet then still, you come back to call us savages. Yet then still, you came back and call us thugs. Jesus. You want us to trust you? All right, folks, that is my introduction. Today's topic, it says, the U.S. Congress admits that U.S. and EU will become a third world country, a third world continent, if Africa becomes free. So, again, America, why will we trust you if you just said to us, if Africa break loose, if Africa break free, US will become a third world country. Europe will become a third world continent. That means you do not want Africa to be free. So why will we trust you? Because if we trust you, that means we don't want to be free. That means we want to stay being third world continent and being called third world country by you. If we trust you. You see? You have nothing against us, but we have something against you, my friend. Anyway, let's start with this South Africa Ramaphosa. Cyril Ramaphosa is a puppet. He is Washington, D.C. dog. That's what I mean, puppet. We just define what puppet means. P-U-P-P-E-T. Puppet, P-U-P, poop. In a French, it means small. Poop, poop, small. P-E-T. And a pet is pet, right? So puppet. Washington, D.C. dog. Washington, D.C. cat. So most of these African leaders who love to be called Western puppet, who love to be called a Western neo-colonialist, it just means you are a dog to Washington, D.C. It just means you are a cat or a dog to Emmanuel Macron. So are you happy to be a dog to Emmanuel Macron? Are you happy to be a dog or a cat to Washington, D.C.? Are you happy to be a dog or a cat to England? Oh, are you happy? We will call you as it is. Because calling you puppet, and make it look seem nice. And that's why you've been so comfortable. Because we keep saying Western puppet, neo-colonialist. So you feel comfortable because it sounds nice, right? No, you are a dog. That's what I mean. Dog, D-O-G, C-A-T, cat, Western dog, pet, Western pet. Now watch a video here. We will come to the United States Congress. We will do that at last. We will do that at last to clean out that meshes. Because I wanted to leave with the people and let the people go with it. By the way, yesterday was so-called May 25th, African Liberation Day, right? I tried to look all on the internet. I couldn't see anything from the AU. Oh my God. Oh man. I couldn't see anything about AU. May 25th. Oh. You see, we told AU, you are dead. The only way you survive is for the African masses. You can survive with the so-called 55 leaders of Africa, or 54, or maybe subtract the Sahel nation now, maybe 53, let's say 52 or so, or something, I don't know, because other nations too have, are living. So basically, maybe let's just say 50. You can survive without your own people. No nation survive without the backing of your people. No continent survive without the backing of your people. You can't. You can survive. Today, look at Africa. Where is Ouattara? Oh, you can survive, African leaders. We have been warning you people. If the masses, the youth of Africa wake up, that thing you call presidency, it will not work. Because your slave master can fight you. And by the way, that will make this clear to the slave master. You can have all your nuclear power. You can have all your nuclear weapon. You will not defeat the black man. That is a fact. You can have all your nuclear weapons. You cannot defeat the black man. And that is why you know it. That is why you have always used the black man to go against the black man. Because that's the only way you will defeat the black man. But allow the black man to go against another black man. Other than that, you can win. You can never succeed. You can have your military equipment. You can have your military might. You can have your nuclear weapon. You cannot win the black man. That is the facts. You can. So, Cyril Ramaphosa, the president of South Africa, you know, when some of these idiots go to the BRICS, they speak as is to say, yes, yes. You see, that is why we need to stop trusting some of these African leaders until we can see them operating like the Sahel nation. But African leaders coming out just speaking, they are not Pan-Africanists. They are not. Until we can see African, because Nana Akufo-Addo was an example that lied to us when he first came. William Ruto, another example that lied to us when he first came. So until these puppet leaders, these African leaders, can start doing what the Sahel nations are doing, they can come out to talk about Pan-Africanists, to talk about this. We shouldn't trust them. Because by the time they meet their slave master, they become puppet, they become dog, they become cat. By the time they meet their slave master, that's the time we see the dog in them. That's the time we see the cat in them. That's the time we see the pet in them. And Ramaphosa showed it when he met his slave master. He became the dog. He became the pet. He became the puppet. Instead of Ramaphosa, oh God, instead of Ramaphosa to educate Trump, he didn't do it. Instead of Ramaphosa to educate Trump about the atrocity that the United States government caused during apartheid time, supporting the apartheid regime to slaughter Africans, Cyril Ramaphosa sat down there talking to Donald Trump. You know, when things happen like this, the two countries need to come together on a round table and try to discuss. You know, that's the only way we will have mutual agreement of understanding. First of all, let me tell you this. If these do you think these imperialists don't understand black struggle? Do you think they don't understand what we are going through? They understand what we are going through. They understand because they are the one that pop up in those things that we are going through. So they understand. They understand more than you because they are the one that caused the pain and are causing the pain. And then you want to tell them we need to sit on the table? Did they sit on the table with Nelson Mandela? Oh, Cyril Ramaphosa, I thought you were going to educate Donald Trump. Did they sit on the table with Steve Biko? Oh man, Ramaphosa. What a pet. What a dog you presented yourself like a pet. When they killed Steve Biko, did they sit on the table? I thought you were going to educate this man. When the apartheid government, white people started shooting South Africans, when South Africans were talking about equality, did they sit on a table? When they see white people stole the land through violence, through torture, rape, lynch, did they sit on the table? Oh, Ramaphosa. Wow. And you see, even as that, you try to be a pet. You try to be like a dog on a leash. But Daniel Trump was not even listening to you. Daniel Trump said, oh, he is speaking like a dog. He is speaking like the pet of the White House. He is speaking like the dog we have in the White House. You saw Daniel Trump shaking his head like, this is how a pet talk. This is how a cat, a dog talk. When did you watch a movie, Sarafina? I mean, that is just a movie. Imagine what took place in that movie, Sarafina. And then think about the reality of what actually happened. Did you educate on him? Did you educate him about the massacre that took place in Soweto? Students in classroom, when white African, when white people went into those buildings, open shot and fire and killed people. See where Ramaphosa, I thought you were going to educate Donald Trump. But you sit down there. Donald Trump even make it look stupid to play a video. A video. Things that happened to you. Donald Trump should play a video to tell you what happened. It's like the white man coming to play a video to a black man about how slavery happened. A white man coming to educate the black man about what happened during slavery. A white man coming to educate the Africans about how the continent was divided, how the continent was colonized. You expect the story to be told as it actually happened. Ramaphosa, I believe when Donald Trump sent you the invitation to come to the White House, I believe you knew what you were coming for. I believe you knew that Donald Trump was going to sit you down to talk to you. And I believe what you are coming for. Let me say this again. I don't believe Donald Trump. You know, this is WCC here. Look, I can knock my chest and tell you I am proud of Donald Trump. Because you know what? I don't like people blaming Donald Trump to say, because look, let's be frank here. Donald Trump is the person that is opening our eye, that is waking us up, telling us that this is what been happening. Now let's be frank here. Was Donald Trump in power when they say things happen? When West African came here doing Obama, Joe, how they call it? Joe Biden. But you see, the way Donald Trump do things, the other people don't do it because they are politicians. They understand. Donald Trump is a businessman. He go as a businessman. Just how you want your profit, that's how Donald Trump is. Was it on Joe Biden when even Australia was even saying there was a genocide? Is that today that we're hearing about genocide? Why genocide in South Africa? Is that today we're hearing that? No. Look, our ancestors, they are using Donald Trump to expose these people. So we shouldn't come and say, look, we are dealing with a system. We are dealing with a system. It's not Donald Trump. Our forefather, they are using Trump to expose them. It was under Joe Biden. They was talking about this thing. Why genocide? Why genocide in South Africa? It wasn't the Australian government that said he gave repatriation to white people to go to Australia? Have you forgotten? Have you forgotten? Now, I expected Ramaphosa to tell Donald Trump because he was in the right place. Because you know what? These African leaders don't understand they have weight. At that place, if Ramaphosa was going to talk to educate these people, it was going to go viral. Ramaphosa should have told the White House that Washington, D.C. is a hypocrite. He should have told Donald Trump that he's a hypocrite because he is the president now. So telling him he's a hypocrite, that means it go to his predecessor. During the time of apartheid, wasn't the United States that was the one that supported Israel? Did the United States open border for blacks or Africans to come to the U.S. for asylum? As such, I never saw it because I wanted to make sure. I wanted to make sure of what I say here. If anybody go check, they will not find it. This is WCC. We may not present some things for you to see, but if we speak, that means we already finished checking. If you go check, you will never find it. During the time of apartheid, when South Africa was under attack by white people, by the Dutch, by the British, and supported by Washington, D.C., there was no repatriation program for asylum seeker for black South African. It is not there. But the reality here is, I expected Cyril Ramaphosa to tell Donald Trump the land that was forcefully taken from the rightful owner. The rightful owner are not forcefully taking it. The rightful owner are only saying equality. Divide the land. So I expected Ramaphosa to educate Donald Trump. So taking land from white people to share it with black people, that's a genocide. So is that the new form of genocide? Wow. I expected Cyril Ramaphosa. A nation have taken Israel to the ICJ. Oh man. I expected him to ask Donald Trump. A nation, South Africa, because Cyril Ramaphosa was at the forefront, taking Israel to the ICJ of genocide committed against the Palestinians. I expected Cyril Ramaphosa to question Donald Trump or to ask Donald Trump, why didn't your government, Joe Biden at that time, right? But equally so, Donald Trump is a former president. Forget about politics that have been going on whatsoever. But former president of the United States still made major decisions behind closed doors. That is a fact. Why didn't Donald Trump, even now he's in power, why didn't he investigate? Or why didn't he call the Palestinians to seek asylum? To say Israel killing them. To say that's genocide. But let me say this. And this is what we've been saying. We taught this, but at the end of the day, we bring solution. We bring understanding to our people. Let me say that for once. If you think I am going to sit here and bash Donald Trump, you damn lie. If I bash Donald Trump, then you are telling me I should tell Donald Trump to hate his race. You are telling me I should tell Donald Trump to hate his people. just how you hate your people. Not to you specifically that is watching, but I am talking about the neo-colonialist. I am talking about the puppets. I am talking about Obama. I am talking about Michael Leslie. I am talking about Ouattara. I am talking about Nana Akufo-Addo. I am talking about Macky Sall, Senegal, the former president. I'm talking about William Ruto. These people hate their kind. These people hate their kind. So they will be the one expecting me to get angry at Donald Trump because he loves his people, because he's looking out for his people. You know, I pity Africans. And I just mentioned leaders, right? But there are majority of Africans in the US here, in England there, in the white man land, in Africa there, all around the world. Majority of Africans hate Abraham Traoré because Abraham Traoré loved his people. So majority of these Africans, they call Abraham Traoré, instead of calling him a revolutionary, they are calling him a jointer. They are calling him all kind of names because they hate their people. They hate their kind. But guess what? They love what Donald Trump is doing, loving his people. What is the difference between Donald Trump and Abraham Traoré? Maybe the only difference is Abraham Traoré is dealing with the West propaganda and at the same time dealing with proxy war supported by the West, dealing with terrorists supported by the West. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is not dealing with terrorists. It is the African man who will hate another African man by loving another Africans. I will never hate Donald Trump of what he did to look after his people. I will never, look. That is why they call love your people, love your kind, stand up for your people. If your people explain something to you, look up to them. Just go to the African continent. This dog on the African continent, the puppet, the pet, these pets on the African continent call themselves president. These dog, these cat, yes, puppet, it means cat. You are a dog to the West. You are a pet, small pet. That's what I mean. Dog, small dog, puppet, pet. You are a pet. I love what Donald Trump did so that you can see it and know what love means. Love. Love does not mean loving other people and hating yourself. Some of you dumb Christians, you will read the Bible and you will read it properly. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Even though they say love your neighbor came first, and then as you love yourself came last. But what they say in the Bible say, the last shall become the first. That means you can never love another person if you don't love yourself. Don't never show love to people outside of your race if you don't show love inside to your race. But a pastor will come and teach the Bible wrongfully to you. And they say, God is love. No, God love. But you know what? They can say God never hate. God, no. You know, they will read the same Bible. Ecclesiastes. What it says in Ecclesiastes. There is time for everything, right? There is time to love. There is time to hate. There is time for death. There is time to be born. And even it said there is time for war. There is time for hate. You have to hate. The Bible talk about hate. That Ecclesiastes, it said there is time to hate. There is time to hate. So hate is not a bad thing. And that is what exactly Trump is doing. So you will see it as he hating blacks of Africans. That's how you will see it. No, that's what the Bible says. Because for each time you decide to love your own, right? To put your own first, it means you are turning your back from other people. And people will see it as hate. Yes, that's what the Bible says. You have to love your people first. For each time you put your kind first, I mean you are hating because you have to eliminate people in order to put your people there. That's hate. And that's what the Bible says. It's okay to do it. It's okay to do it. Yes. The Bible says you should hate. H-A-T-E. It says you should hate. So nobody must to say, God said don't hate. God said you must love. So how long are we going to love and nobody love us back? How long are we going to love and nobody loving us back? But we see other people loving themselves. And then we say they hate us. No, they don't hate us. They love themselves. And until they can be fed enough, until they can love themselves enough, they will never show us love. And because they have not loved themselves enough, that is why they have never shown us love. And because we don't show that love to each other, we try to show it to them. They know it. They know that in order to love other people, you must love yourself. And because we don't love ourselves, that's why they don't care the damn about us. They treat us the way they want to treat us. Let's see how the pet was acting.
In Parliament and started saying kill a certain group of people, he would be arrested very quickly. That man is going all over South Africa, and that's not a small party. That was a stadium that holds 100,000 people, and I hardly saw an empty seat. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of representation. And those crosses, we have dead white people, dead white farmers mostly. And you take a look at Australia, they're being inundated and we're being inundated with people that want to get out. And their farm is valueless. It's valueless. And they just want to get out with their life. And this is a very serious situation. And if we had a real news or real press or media, we don't have that because they won't talk about this because they're all guys like that idiot. But if we had a real press, it would be exposed. And you know, the beauty of exposing it is it's like a cleansing action.
We're Phoenix Energy, a family-owned oil company focused on unleashing American oil from North Dakota and
when it gets exposed, it'll get fixed. That's when it'll get fixed. But people don't talk about it. And I'll tell you who's talking about the thousands of people that are fleeing South Africa right now.
Yes, greetings and welcome all of you, my dear lovely family, friends, fellow Africans. That is Mr. Donald Trump. In that meeting between Trump and Ramaphosa, Trump has said Malema must be arrested. And in that conversation, Trump given the evidence of the songs of Julius Malema during EFF rallies. And here is what Trump has said.
It has to be responded to. Yeah, sure. Let me see the articles, please, if you would. And turn the lights down. Turn the lights down and just put this on. It's right behind you. Johan.
There's nothing this parliament can do. With or without you, people are going to occupy land. We require no permission from you, from the president, from no one. We don't care. We can do whatever we want to do. Who are you to tell us whether we can occupy?
So the people who came to the US, the white people, all right, to whom their forefathers stole the land forcefully. These people that came to the US to seek asylum because they say blacks of African were killing them. Meanwhile, South Africa, white South Africa still control majority of the Mediterranean in the first place, and that is a fact, right? They put out videos together about Malema and then brought it to Donald Trump to present their case against Malema. So that's the video you're hearing right there, Malema speaking. And by the way, some of these videos and the songs that were sung, the so-called Afrikaner, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, they took Julian Malema to court for days, and they lost the case. Malema won the case. I think they were in court for about 2 years or plus. And then now they have taken the same video, they brought it to their brother to present their case. Ramaphosa coming, knowingly he was coming for this, he came with his empty hand. And Ramaphosa sitting there smiling. But Donald Trump was very serious and adamant. And Donald Trump is even saying, cut the lead off. Let Ramaphosa see it. But you see in the video, even though you may not be seeing it from here, there was no white farmer being killed. But the issue here is taking a land from the white farmer, sharing it with the black people, right there is genocide. But let's continue. There's a message we want to give. Let's continue.
We are going to occupy land. South Africa occupy land. That's who we are. So whatever I want to do, we can withdraw my membership from this useless parliament. Yes, honorable member. Must never be scared to kill. A revolution demands that at some point there must be killing, because the killing is part of a revolutionary act. Shoot to kill. Come on, sir. Kill the poor, the farmer. Kill the poor, the farmer. Pa, 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 pa. Come on, sir. Kill the poor, the farmer. Kill the poor. Get a white man. Not you are cutting the throat.
You have crosses. Crosses.
No, I'd like to know where that is, because this I've never seen.
All right, so let me just project. There's a video that they were showing down there, right? And Ramaphosa is telling Trump, where was this taken? Trump is where in the US. He's not in South Africa. First of all, let me say this. Ramaphosa brought this on himself. I would have shut that video off. I would have told Trump, cut that video off. Cut the video off, or else I'm going to leave. I would have told Trump, first of all, why would I want to tell Trump where did this happen? I don't think this is South Africa. Tell me where it happened. Trump already believed this happened in South Africa because his people already brought the video and told him this is what happened in South Africa. And you telling Trump where this happened? I don't believe this is in South Africa. The same people that brought a video to Trump, Trump did not put that video together. None of those people in the White House or Trump cabinet that put a video together, the same people who left South Africa, the same, how they call it, African, who are in South Africa, the same DA that you are working with, that you went and kidnapped with and gave the government to them, the same DA put that video together and brought it to Trump. And you ask Trump, where this happened? I don't know where this happened. In the first place, you have shut that video down. Made Trump to believe that you, the president of Africa, the DA setting in there, the so-called asylum seeker setting in there, you should have made them to believe you are the president for South Africa and you are for all South African. Then he shut the video down. I believe Trump could have shut that video down. And another point, Cyril Ramaphosa, you did a biggest mistake by coming to the US to discuss this. If Donald Trump was serious about his people, he was going to come to South Africa to meet you. He was going to call you to make an appointment with you, to know your schedule, okay? And then come to South Africa with his delegate to meet you and discuss. And then I believe you are even going to tell him, Mr. President, when you come, I want to take you to the black community. I want to take you to the land. 9% of white, only 90% of South African land. Take him there. Let him see these things. But you didn't do it. You came here for this man to humiliate you. This is how they see African leaders. Because you people are the cause. Because you continue to remain puppet. You continue to remain their cat, their dog. You continue to remain their animals. You continue to remain their pets. And they treat you like pets. Yes. You see, so because his trip to the US was useless because Trump did not listen to him, and you can see the attitude of Trump. And like I said, I do not believe Trump because Trump believes in his people. So Trump can die for his people. Trump can do anything for his people. These people do not believe in equality. No, their people come first. Their race come first. And nothing wrong with that, absolutely. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. That we black people see it as something wrong with it. Because we want to throw the war on our head. We want to be Jesus Christ. We want to be, yes, yes, yes. So nothing wrong with President Trump's attitude. That shows that he's committed to his people. You should have invited Trump instead of Trump inviting you, so that you can take him to sites, so that you can even take him to a place today in South Africa that black cannot go, on a black land that white people occupy, that black people cannot go there today. Oh man, that's how a pet behaves. You have a place in South Africa called Arena that were established by apartheid. The same apartheid we are talking about today, a place today in honor of the man that established apartheid. In honor of him, today black people cannot go to that land. In black South Africa. Cyril Ramaphosa, I thought you came prepared to educate this man. But Cyril Ramaphosa sitting talking about, we got to create partnership. You think they care about partnership? Since the 1600, and they care about partnership, you think they're going to colonize you? Since the 1884, and they care about a partnership, you think they're going to divide the continent among themselves? Since the 1960s, and they care about partnership, you think they're going to be killing African leaders? Since 2011, and they care about partnership. You think they're going to kill Gaddafi? Since 2025, and they care about partnership. You think they're going to go against Abraham Traore or the Sahel nation? You think Malcolm Leslie was going to say that and talk about assassinating Abraham Traore? 2025. You think that people care about equality? You should be daydreaming. And this is one of the reasons why Africa is still lacking beyond.
Okay. I mean, it's in South Africa. That's where
We need to find out.
So, you see, Trump has given his message. You saw how Trump did his face after the video is finished? Trump put his face on the other side and said, I don't care the damn you're going to say, you slave, you Negro, you dog, you cat, you pet. And they see Ramaphosa face. He felt guilty from the video that was played. That is not true. He felt guilty.
okay.
Mr. President, the Pentagon announced that it would be accepting a Qatari jet to be used as Air Force One.
This brilliant device keeps your home cool in summer, even during heat.
All right, so the video you're about to watch, right, like I said, it was the DA, the same government or political party that the ANC allowed. You know, when they had a South African election, it was on the same platform we came, and I said this election was rigged because it is impossible. The second largest political party in the country, EFF, did not even come second or third or fourth. And the smallest political party in the country, DA, coming second to the ANC. How can 9% of white in the country come second to 90% of black in the country? How? But because they wanted to make it seem that, oh, it's democracy, or it's government of national unity. Meanwhile, in 1994, Nelson Mandela was the same government of national unity. And then up to 2023, they brought out same government of national unity. Make it seem that, oh, it was the first time they was bringing national government of national unity. But I brought this video to show to you that it was the DA that put this video together that brought it to Donald Trump. The DA in South Africa, the same government of national unity that is working with Ramaphosa, it is the same government that put the video together to come and give it to Donald Trump. In a government, on a man in the government, don't like black people. Then how can you say you love black South African when you work with the government of national unity? You work because it's like the ANC for black people, so to speak, maybe, and then the DA solely for white people working together. But the same government, on money, the same government, because they hate black people, which, like I said, I have no problem with it. Because the Bible says you should hate. And in order to love your race, you got to hate. Because Jesus Christ himself, a black man from the tribe of Judah, born black, man black, power black, that they changed his name to Jesus. But his name was not Jesus. And his description is in the Bible as a black man. And the 12 disciples described in the Bible all over as black people. Jesus himself, what he did, he put his race first. And that's what he said. He set his race above all people. So how could you expect Jesus to put other race above him? No. So he put his race first. That's why he said his race above all people. That's hate. So in order to love, you got to hate. In order to put people like this, you got to hate and bring people down before you go up, before you carry something up. It got to. So there's no balance. There is no balance in the Bible you read. No balance you lie to you. There is equality in the Bible. That's blunt lie. And the white people know that. And the white people practice that. But it is only you that don't practice it. And the moment you're ready to practice it, white people know that's the time that will come to you and talk softly. And again, the same Bible warn you critically and say, be careful of the white people. Be careful of them that spoke softly. Be careful of them that, because their words are smooth like butter, but war in their heart, sword in their heart. Then Hillary Clinton tell us that 30 good years they were hunting Gaddafi, and until they got him, and they got him through a black man. They carry a black man, and when Gaddafi saw it, Gaddafi thought that his brother now knew there was white body. That's a white representation in a black body, and they killed Gaddafi. And you saw Hillary Clinton saying that we came, we conquered, and we killed. And she was laughing. She said, 30 years we've been behind this man. So when the Bible talk about being careful of them, back then, and not nobody else. So it's not a bad thing. There is no equality in the Bible. If not, when a lady came, because if there was equality, the lady came ask Jesus, oh, my daughter's sick. Oh, I want this. What Jesus say? It is not meek to take the children bread and give it and pass it to dog. Jesus Christ calling someone a dog. Is that equality? There's no equality in the Bible, because Jesus just said, I will not take the children bread and give it to a dog. And meanwhile, there was a human being speaking to Jesus, a Gentile. Yes, he called somebody dog, D-O-G. So imagine that. There is no equality in the Bible. So I don't blame white people when they stand up for their people. I don't blame Donald Trump. So a government of government national unity, that's a government that brought you to their superpower to catch you because you are a dog.
What you're going to see. And that is why this government, working together, needs the support of our allies around, trying to get one over on each other. To join hands with Mr. Ramaphosa, leaders of, and it affects all farmers.
South Africa. So you can see about black people who were killed by white farmers, but it was
a priority crime. And it affects all farmers in South Africa, particularly stock theft, has a disproportionate effect on smallholder black farmers. I also want to just say this, that the two individuals that are in that video that you've seen are both leaders of opposition minority parties in South Africa. Mkhonto Wesizwe under Mr. Zuma and the economic freedom fighters under Mr. Malema. Now, the reason that my party, the Democratic Alliance, which has been an opposition party for over 30 years, chose to join hands with Mr. Ramaphosa's party was precisely to keep those people out of power. We cannot have those people sitting in the union buildings making decisions. And that is why after 30 years of us.
So you see, that's the DA, the chair for the Democratic Alliance. You heard him speaking down there, saying that Julia Malema and the rest shouldn't be in parliament. Julia Malema and the rest of the people that stand up for African people, that stand up for Black South African, should not be in power, should not be in parliament, should not be in a house. They should be booted out. They should leave. So now they came to Trump for them to put pressure on South Africa to boot out Julia Malema and the rest of the people who stand against neocolonialism, who stand against oppression, who stand for land to be distributed also equally to Black South Africans. This idiot, the DA, is saying Donald Trump, the United States government, should go and arrest Julia Malema and the rest of the South Africans who are fighting for Black people. They should arrest them. They are now work to sit in there to make decisions. Do you see? I do not call that hate. They love their race. They stand out for their race. You see, let me say this. Bunch of you African leaders, and we continue to say this, you guys are puppets. You see, instead of you discussing African problems on the African continent among yourself, you guys always come to Washington, D.C. Why this DA? Why these white people? They're not set in South Africa on the table to discuss this. But Ramaphosa came here, sat here, and telling Donald Trump they should sit on the table. Why? The same DA, Government of National Unity, did not call you, Ramaphosa, in South Africa to sit on the table as a Government of National Unity to discuss the issue of South Africa. But they came to their people, to their race in America here, far from South Africa, to discuss South Africa problem. That did not sink in your head. And you telling Trump, today it is good, the two nations sit down. This right here was not discussed about two nations. Because if it was about two nations in the first place, it have nothing to do with America. But because these people know their roots, these people know where they come from. These people, you see, this is why. This is why the African men, African people all around the continent are not respected. Because there is no government in the world to speak for us. But you see, these people, they know where they come from. So they run to the government, to their government to speak for them. Even though they say they are South Africans, right? But they still wrong. Because they know there is a government somewhere that will speak to them, that will speak for them, that will back them off, that will protect them. But there is no government in the world that will speak for Black people everywhere, anywhere. And you came and said your puppet said telling Donald Trump, two nations need to sit down together and discuss this. Why didn't the DA sit in South Africa on the table to discuss with you? Sell out. I wonder what the BRICS nation, the rest of the BRICS nation will be doing. I thought you broke away South Africa. I thought you broke away. You see, some of these African leaders are so damn dumb and stupid. You were the same people, South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, that took Asia. Because if you take Asia to the RCJ, obviously, automatically, you take in the United States to the RCJ. And that is why the United States are starting an RCJ official or sanction. And then you come from that, you think these people forgot what you did? By taking Asia to the RCJ? By putting it on a spotlight, you think they forgot you, what you did to them? You think, look, 10 years, 15 years, you think these people forgot you, what you did to them? By taking them to the RCJ, and the RCJ found them guilty of genocide committed in Palestine and Gaza, you think these people forgot about you, about what you did? And you come and sit down talking about, we need to sit down on a round table and talk. You think these people do any kind of mutual business with you? Because they feel you backslap them. 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, you think the people forget? It took 30 years for them to bring Gaddafi down. You think they forget? You think they can forget? No. They love their race. They love their race. They love who they are. And they will do everything to protect. They will not betray their race. They will not. So you think they forgot when yesterday you took them to the RCJ, and then you come and sit down and talk about we need to sit on round table, the US and South Africa have mutual benefit. We got to do this. When you the same person talking about you want to make sure and decolonize their currency, how some of these African leaders are dumb? By you coming out with British currency, obviously the United States dollar is done. And they saw you yesterday talking about decolonization. They saw you yesterday preaching the British currency. And you come and sit down here talking about partnership. You think these people forgot you? Hey, Jimmy Papa. That is why Donald Trump there sat down, he look at you like this. Idiots. He's very stupid. And you allow this DA, you the president, this DA treating you like a dog, like a child, talking the way he want to talk, pointing fingers. Because he's sitting down with a government, their government that can protect them. Where is the government of the black race? Because the white race have government. If they can't come to Washington, D.C., they will go to England. If they can't go to England, they will go to Australia. They got government that protect them. Where is the government of the black race around the world? You guys are all idiots. And then when the three nations, Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, try to do something to be the voice of the black race, then you all sit down and don't want to work with those nations, and then want to make sure so-called AU, so-called ECOWAS want to go and wage war on those same people. Nonsense.
Exchanging barbs across the floor in Parliament and trying to get one over on each other. We've decided to join hands precisely to keep that lot out of government, because the day they get in to the doors of the union buildings in South Africa or control of our parliament, that's what you're going to see. And that is.
So now you see, this proof that Judah Malema did win the election. You heard what the DA said? If we allow these people to get to the union building, to get to that door, then that will be it for South Africa. Are you getting me? Are you getting me? These people are afraid of equality. So equality to them that genocide. Did you see? Equality to them that genocide. So do you think when you so-called Negro or black, you're talking about equality, equality, equality? Marco Garvey saw this long time coming. But David E.B. Du Bois then sat down there and never agreed. And David E.B. Du Bois then, even as we can talk about the good, the date, they were part of the problem. David E.B. Du Bois was a problem to Liberia. Seeing Liberia like that today, David E.B. Du Bois contributed to the problem of Liberia today. Well, Liberia is a shithole, like Donald Trump said. David E.B. Du Bois contributed. When Marco Garvey won David E.B. Du Bois, Marco Garvey won him, but David E.B. Du Bois did not listen that. And America used David E.B. Du Bois. They ran out the UNRA. They ran out Marco Garvey. And they used David E.B. Du Bois. Because David E.B. Du Bois said, we can be liberated among these people. We can work with them. And Marco Garvey said, no, segregation is a solution. We segregate from them and work on ourselves. David E.B. Du Bois said no. They had a lot of conflict there. So they used David E.B. Du Bois. You see? So anybody that comes to stand for the black race, anybody that comes to stand to speak for the black race, they see you automatically as a threat, as a savage, as a rebel, as terrorist. How can a savage call a peaceful, real human being terrorist? How can a savage, the talk, call a real human being a talk or a terrorist? Black people have committed no atrocity against white people. But history proof white people have done the worst against black people. But yet then, the same people call us terrorists. The same people call us savage. The same people call us... you can look at peaceful men at King and call him terrorists. You look at peaceful men at Nkrumah and call him terrorists. You look at peaceful men that Nelson Mandela call him terrorist.
That's why this government, working together, needs the support of our allies around the world so that we can strengthen our hand, grow our economy, and shut the door forever on that rabble getting through the doors of the union buildings, because then...
So you heard it. Call Julian Malema a rebel. You heard that? Calling Julian Malema a rebel? Have Julian Malema ever killed a single white person in South Africa? Have Julian Malema ever wasted a drop of white person blood in South Africa? Have Julian Malema ever led a group that ever dropped a single blood of white person in South Africa? Julian Malema does not have a drop of white person blood on his hand. But you see, they refer to him as rebel. You see, they refer to him as rebel. But let's see who are the rebel. And that is what we expected Ramaphosa to go see. You see, Ramaphosa sat down in there quietly. He's the president, but the DA acting as the president. Ramaphosa need to go to South Africa. The same way Ouattara is on heat, Ramaphosa need to go. Are we ready? Ramaphosa need to go. Let's see who are the terrorists or the rebel.
Most of his neighbours, who turned out to mourn him this morning, are still white, but it's economics now, not apartheid. They were genuinely grieving a black convicted terrorist who turned their world upside down, but left it surprisingly the same. It could have all been so different.
With apartheid in order to preserve it. The blacks, so oddly obedient for so long, were beginning to lose patience. The young particularly were angry. The lid was about to come off.
It was a terribly violent country. Brutal undercurrents flowed through the cultures of both races. It wasn't just apartheid that brought them to the surface. In Soweto, 25 domestic murders a weekend were routine. Most whites seem to have guns and few inhibitions about using them.
So these are the rebel. White people have guns. Black people does not have guns. These are the rebel. But you see how they had their history, their atrocity against black people? And always want to put black people at the front of being savage, being a rebel, being the terrorist, being a killer.
The security forces had few restraints.
Look at them. That is apartheid of Africa. Okay? This was the behavior that gave white people in South Africa to have dominant power today. This was the behavior. White people, okay, to give them 90% of the land. Meanwhile, 90% of black own about 10% of the land, and 9% of white own 90% of the land. This was the savage attitude and behavior that gave West of Africa the edge of which they are enjoying today. Who are the rebel? DA, you are the rebel because you are living on a heritage of genocide, of blood, money that you are enjoying.
As the children rioted, they were ambushed. At least.
Look right here, DA, and this is not some 30 years back. No, we're talking about the 90s. Okay, this is not some 100 years back. No, this is not some 90 or 80 years back. No, these are generations are still living today. So who are the savage here? That was a black man laying down there, a black child lying down there.
Three coloured youths were killed outright before they could take cover.
Right here, that's a black man laying down there. In the hands of the terrorists, white terrorists, in the hands of rebel, white rebel, in the hands of the savage, white savages, in the hands of the thug, white thug in South Africa. That's how you got that power today.
Police said they were using birdshot, designed to wound, not kill. But at short range, the ammunition was still deadly. Nearby buildings were peppered with gunshots. More than 20 were wounded, 3 of them seriously. Many others were taken secretly to be treated in private for fear of arrest.
Our cameras recorded it in all its brutal intensity and sent the pictures around the world. They hated us.
You people, let's get out now very quickly, okay? Because you people are the fucking cause of this now. Yeah, all right.
So you see, they always play the victim when they are the perpetrator. When they are the killer, play the victim. I thought Ramaphosa knew better that he was going to educate Donald Trump and the rest of the folks in there. But let's see the song they also play and where this song came from. So the song you're about to hear, right? This was a song that was composed and sung during the time of apartheid, during the time when white people were killing Africans, black South Africans. And they made this song as a song of encouragement, empowerment, okay? As a song of togetherness, as a song of resilience. Julia Malema did not compose this song. This song was composed as a result of the same things of Africans are facing today.
kill. Come on, sir. Kill the poor, the farmer.
To use that chant as evidence of what is going on? That doesn't make logical sense. That song is not a song that Julius Malema created just the other day. That song is an ancient war cry, a chant for freedom that our ancestors sang during apartheid, when those very same people and their grandfathers were oppressing, displacing, destructing, raping, massacring, genociding. How quick we forget about the Sharpeville massacre. We forget so quick about the things, the atrocities that your grandparents and great-grandparents inflicted on our people, and the war cry. The war cry is your issue? And the war cry is evidence to prove that this is going on? Never mind the fake crosses that they put on the side of the road, talking about it was an early Sunday morning for them to go and pay homage to some fake crosses of some fake deaths. Do you see how easy it is for me to say that? That those crosses aren't even real? They're not true? How is it that the president has never seen those crosses before, but here you are?
Malcolm X once said, Black people will never be respected until Africa is respected. Africa unite.
Savages. But the real monsters wore British uniforms. This is the story the UK tried to bury. The Mau Mau massacre, where tens of thousands of Kenyans were tortured, entire villages burned. Women were raped. Men were castrated. Children were locked in cages and starved to death for daring to fight for their own land. Imagine your grandparents being dragged from their homes, thrown into concentration camps, and beaten for refusing to surrender their land to white settlers. That's what Britain did in Kenya. Over 160,000 Kikuyu men, women, and children were imprisoned. Thousands were castrated, raped, or hanged in public executions just for resisting theft of their homeland. And the worst part? Britain burned the evidence. For decades, they denied the killings, until survivors sued and won in 2013. But even then, only 5,228 victims got compensation. Where's the justice for the other 90,000 plus dead? Where's the return of stolen land? Today, Kenya still suffers. The best farms, still owned by colonial descendants. The trauma passed down for generations. And Britain, they act like it never happened. But we remember. Because history isn't just the past. It's the reason Africa is still fighting for fairness. This isn't just Kenya's story. It's Africa's story. A story of stolen lives, stolen wealth, and a world that looks away. If you believe Africa deserves the full truth, share this video, tag someone who needs to hear it, and follow for more unfiltered African history. They called them savages. But the real monsters wore
All right. So we end that there. Oh no, let me play the video here. Sorry, folks. I can't leave this out. Let's close of this video with this topic. And then we can get to the United States Congress.
On June 16, 1976, over 10,000 student protesters flooded the streets of Soweto, South Africa. For 28 years, South Africans had been living under apartheid, a strict policy of segregation that barred the country's black majority from skilled, high-paying jobs, quality education, and much more. And in 1974, the government announced schools would be forced to teach many subjects in Afrikaans, a language used primarily by the nation's white ruling elites. But when protesters rose up to fight this injustice, the government's response was swift. Armed police officers turned their weapons onto the crowd, and over the following days they killed over 150 students, including victims as young as 13. Even before apartheid, South Africa's long history of racial violence had already cost countless Black Africans their jobs, lands. Over the following centuries, Black Africans were segregated onto so-called native reserves. And by the 20th century, that meant 70% of the population was living on roughly 13% of the country's land. Deprived of their traditional livelihoods and seeking to escape these overpopulated regions, Black Africans began migrating to white-controlled areas. There, they worked for low wages on white-owned farms and mines, alongside the descendants of enslaved and indentured workers from across Africa and Asia. By 1948, this exploited labor force was a primary driver of South Africa's booming economy. But economists argued that continued growth required a stable, educated, and urbanized African labor force. The ruling United Party accepted this logic, but the rival National Party argued such a workforce would threaten the white ruling class, naming their campaign apartheid, the Afrikaans word for separateness. The National Party won the 1948 elections. And once in power, they began forcibly relocating millions of Africans back to the reserves. Under apartheid, Black workers were considered temporary visitors in white areas. They were restricted to specific zones, and their trade unions received no official recognition. The government also abolished mixed-race universities, outlawed mixed marriages, segregated recreational spaces, and purged the non-white population from the voters' roll. Within parliament at this time, apartheid only had a small group of outspoken opponents, but outside the government, 3 political groups were leading a popular resistance against the regime. The Communist Party, which was then legally banned in 1950, their allies in the African National Congress, and later, a splinter group called the Pan-Africanist Congress. Despite some ideological differences, all 3 groups worked to mobilize the masses against apartheid by non-violent methods. But the National Party wasn't as restrained. On March 21st, 1960, policemen massacred demonstrators at a PAC rally. And within weeks, the ANC and PAC were outlawed. These events radicalized anti-apartheid leaders. And in December of 1961, Nelson Mandela and other ANC and Communist Party activists established the resistance's armed wing. While the conflict grew increasingly violent, the 1960s saw consistent economic growth.
Anyway, because of time, that's why I took it there, right? But again, that's why that music, again, was produced from this struggle, right? And actually, we are not here to educate white people. They know the story. They did it. But we are just here to react to what Ramaphosa did and to remind our people who still sleeping and to wake them out. All right? The message is for our people. It's not for anybody else. Who want to listen, they can listen. All right? All right. Let's see this reaction and then we get to the next topic, the main topic.
Well, I'm inclined to share the blame for what happened yesterday equally. Trump was wrong. he didn't have his facts right. He clearly demonstrated his racist bias and so on. But what was Cyril Ramaphosa doing in the White House? Who sent him there? Who asked him to go there? What was his business in the White House? You see, our leaders, the African leaders, have to spend their efforts promoting African integration, African unity and development, rather than seeking the approval of leaders like Trump and countries like the United States of America. That's where the problem is. Sir Ramaphosa is confused himself. There's too much fog in his head. He's unable to think properly. What did he go to the White House, the Oval Office, to look for? He should tell us. Why? Are you telling me that Cyril Ramaphosa did not know that this was Trump's position and that Trump was going to seek to embarrass him? We have all known over the last few months and so on, Trump actually granting asylum to persons he perceived as victims of land grab in South Africa. This has been public knowledge. And he walked into this trap with his eyes open and brain not working. He walked into this trap. Cyril Ramaphosa himself is an embarrassment to Africa. Leaders like him should not be pitied. They should be condemned in the strongest possible terms. You understand? So that's where I start from. Now, there's something which is very interesting. Donald Trump is looking for perpetrators of genocide in the world today and seeking to punish perpetrators of genocide. But he closes his eye to Gaza and goes to South Africa. Amazing! You are looking for genocide today in the world, and your focus is on South Africa and not Israel. In Gaza, more than 70,000 people, have been slaughtered. In how many years? 2 years. 20 months. 70,000 people have been slaughtered. 2/3 of them are women and children. Donald Trump doesn't see that. The United States of America is providing the weapons that are being used for the massacre in Gaza. It's not a problem for Donald Trump. Amazing, unbelievable. Look, and this is the problem that I have with some of the leaders in South Africa. You understand? As we speak, everybody or most people think that apartheid has come to an end. Has apartheid come to an end? There are places in South Africa today, as we speak, where blacks are not allowed to enter. There are places today in South Africa where blacks are not allowed to enter. And so Ramaphosa is presiding over this nonsense. He's presiding over it. You understand? And then he goes to the Oval Office in the White House. He allows himself to be bullied. And they say he's a nice diplomat. When we are being punched in the eye, and you sit down with your arms folded, you are not a nice diplomat. You are not a nice diplomat. And what happened in the Oval Office is as much an indictment on the Trump administration and its support for global racism and genocide as an indictment on Ramaphosa himself. He should explain to us, to the African people, why he went into an alliance with the Democratic Alliance. The Democratic Alliance, who is an offshoot of white minority rule in South Africa. He should explain to us. Why did he reject all the other offers available to him? Ramaphosa should be explaining to the people of South Africa and should be explaining to us. And stop playing the victim. He's not the victim. He's an ally of the perpetrator. That is what Ramaphosa is. What is this? What is this? Alhaji Yusuf Husseini was talking about the Indian reservations in the United States of America. I had the privilege of visiting Mikusuki in the south of the United States of America. My brother, it's a zoo. It's a zoo for human beings. I mean, the narrative is that they are keeping Indians in their natural environment. Listen to the construction. That they are keeping Indians in their natural environment. What they have done is to fence the area, Mikusuki. And the Indians live there, they farm, they fish, they engage in textile manufacturing and so on, using traditional methods and so on. And you pay money at the gate, just like you pay money at the Kumasi Zoo to go and see monkeys. That's the same thing you do there in Mikusuki. The United States of America is still keeping Indians in zoos. And it's talking about what? Genocide? Discrimination on the basis of race and so on? I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it. But you see, we have allowed this to happen. We have a task of uniting the African people and our allies around the world to build our societies, to confront poverty, to expand education, and so on. That is our task. Our task is not to please the United States of America or to please those countries. Today, as we speak in this studio, the United States, under the leadership of Donald Trump, is promising to buy Greenland. To buy! Can you believe it? They are going to buy, they want to buy Greenland. They want to buy Greenland. They want to take over Canada as the 51st state of the United States of America. This canal, Panama Canal, they want to take it over by force and so on. This is the president who is telling us about genocide in South Africa. He has no idea what he's talking about. I mean, I travel to South Africa on a regular basis. I mean, many times I go to South Africa, okay? You should go to a place like Bella Bella and see the large tracts of land owned by white farmers. The vast majority of lands in South Africa are still in the hands of the minority white settler community. The blacks are being denied access to land. Is that what he calls genocide? My goodness, Donald the Trump. But you see, Donald the Trump can happen anywhere in the world. And indeed, history has seen many of them, people like Donald Trump. We saw Bokassa in Africa. We've seen the likes of Duterte and so on. We've seen them. We should be careful in Ghana not to make the mistake of electing a Donald Trump. It is possible. No, I'm serious. I'm very serious. There are some of the people who are offering themselves for presidency, who see themselves as future president, will be worse than Donald Trump and Duterte. They will be. There's nothing in their head, not even cotton wool in their head, nothing, no brain matter in their heads. And they're offering themselves as presidents in Ghana. We should be careful. I mean, in the last election, my brothers, in the last election, I was so shocked. I mean, I didn't believe that the elections were taking place in Kwame Nkrumah's Ghana. One of the presidential candidates, his main message was that if he or she got elected, he would change the method of oath taking in Ghana, and that elected and appointed officers would take oath with water bought by poor people. And I'm saying, my goodness, does she know the country she's talking about? How does that resolve our economic problems? How does that lead to the appreciation of the value of the city? How does that resolve the mess in cocoa marketing in the cocoa board? How does that lead to the expansion of education and so on? But all of these people are offering themselves for leaders for Ghana, and I think we should be very careful, including one who is going to take the sea from Jamestown to Kejetia.
All right, now let's get to the main part. That is the topic for Ramaphosa. Now, let's get to the main issue of the United States Congress. So, the United States Congress admitted that if Africa break away finally from America or Europe, they are going to become a third world continent or third world nation. They also admitted that Africans have come to the realization that they have lied to us about democracy, but they have never ever supported true democracy. They have lied. They said it in a different way. I'm going to play the video. According to them, they have lied to us about democracy, and they never believe in democracy actually on the African continent. That's what they said. They said everything that they have brought to us have all been fake. They said they have never ever supported Africans and the continent to rise. That's what they say. And according to them, because Africans have realized it, that is why Africans are now going to watch China and Russia. And by the way, they are not just the ones saying this. We have said this here before. Look, like I said, these people, they listen to us. But you know what? They are so adamant in their attitude and their behavior because they mean no good for Africa. But they listen to us. But listening to us, that doesn't mean they listen to accept and to work together with us. They don't. And the only reason why they are saying these things, which of course we have said it, is because they are saying they are downfall. It's because they are saying Africans have noticed the true behavior, the true color of the US, the true color of Europe. They are saying that on the African continent, in reality, we don't really need the presence of the US and Europe again. We don't need them. They are saying that plus them, minus them, we don't need them. They are saying that even their embassies on the African continent, they are there, right, for propaganda, and they are there for their interest to make sure it's like Joe Biden, or let's say Donald Trump, right? Because we are using Donald Trump because he is the president now. But we could have used any president, and you know, whether it could be currently. Now, it's like their embassy in various African nations, right? Or on the African continent. It's like Joe Biden or Donald Trump cannot be sitting here and at the same time sitting in all the African nations or on the African continent. So they have to send representatives. So those representatives in or on the African continent, it is actually Donald Trump. They are actually there to work in the interest of the American foreign policy, of the American interests. They cannot go contrary to what Donald Trump wants. They cannot. Because it is actually Donald Trump who is the president in that country. So they are saying that we don't need their presence again. They have been exposed. Because if the USAID have been a cause of Boko Haram, have been a cause of terrorist activities on the African continent, what does that speak to you? If AFRICOM have been exposed as a terrorist armed group on the African continent, What does that supposed to be to you? What does that mean to you? Oh, yes. Didn't the African commander say he want to take down Abraham Traore? Why would the African commander say they want to take down Abraham Traore? Is Abraham Traore a threat to the African people? Or Abraham Traore is being loved by the African people? So why would Africans say they want to take down Abraham Traore or the AES? Why would they say that? They are terrorist group, the AFRICOM. So they know that everything they have brought to us have never empowered us. And they know that Africans are waking up that, wait a minute, African building cars, it is because of China, not Europe, not the US. Wait a minute. Burkina Faso manufacturing electric car today. It's because of China and Russia, not US, not Europe. Oh, Ghana making car today. It is because of China, not Europe, not US. Can we continue to go? Uganda making car. It is because of China, not Europe, not US. But the question then becomes, how long have China been on the African continent? The question then becomes, how long have Russia been on the African continent? Oh, Burkina Faso building military, how do you call it, vehicle today, and then because of Russia and China, not because of Europe and US or France. No. So obviously, they know that they can never ever turn Russia against Africans and African take it. They know that they can never ever turn China against African and African take it. Never. Oh, let me fall back. Africa having roles today. It is because of China and Russia, not Europe, not France, not US. But the truth is, who have benefited most from Africa? Not Europe, not China, not Russia, but Europe and America, France, UK. They have benefited most immensely from Africa than China and Russia. But who have committed the most atrocity? Not China, not Russia, but Europe and America. Who have killed African visionary leaders? Not Europe, not China, not Russia, but Europe and America. Who have run propaganda, use their media to run fake propaganda against Africa. Not China, not Russia, but Europe and America. But today, surprisingly, America is saying, Africa have vast majority of resources. And what they have done to Africa, they have backfired. Watch the video.
Defeating is my view. I just don't. It is incredibly self-defeating is my view. I just don't understand why we are taking a bunch of tools in our foreign policy toolbox and tossing them into a dumpster.
And I think we need to start giving African countries more of what they want and less of what they don't. That seems like an obvious proposition, but frequently our Africa strategy doesn't seem to be guided by that principle.
Picking a fight with South Africa, a pretty important nation, and labeling them as committing genocide against Afrikaan farmers, accepting Afrikaner refugees while we're shutting off other refugees from Africa.
We are in a state of crisis right now when it comes to our relations with the continent and other competitors of ours, from Iranians to Russians to Chinese to people that don't always align with us, from the Emiratis and others, are flooding the zone where we are retreating in a stunning way.
Tired of typing tons of notes during class? There's finally a better way. It's called Otter. Let's say
they called us partners. Then they pulled the plug and left us hanging. Now, Washington is panicking because China didn't hesitate to step in. This is the real reason Africa is being fought over like a prize. And what you're about to hear wasn't meant for your ears. For decades, America ran programs across Africa that supported education, health, and entrepreneurship. But under the Trump administration, those were quietly cut. No warnings, no consultations. Programs like PEPFAR, MCC, and YALI gone. Now, U.S. senators are panicking because China is filling the void fast. In this clip, U.S. lawmakers admit the damage, and they're terrified of what happens next.
Mr. Missouri, thank you for your testimony. What I hear from both of you is more engagement, not less. More of what we have done that works, and that the abrupt and chaotic closure of a very wide range of our most effective tools for engaging with Africa, from the MCC to YALI to the PEPFAR program, puts all of this at risk. Mr. Chairman, if I might, given your opening comments in the exchange, I'd love to work with you on clarifying the U.S.-Kenya relationship. Their foreign minister and national security advisor were just here last week meeting with the president and folks at the White House, and I agree with you that some of those statements with the PRC are very concerning given the deep and long relationship and the security relationship we have with regards to al-Shabaab in Somalia. It's disappointing to say the least. You referenced how important it is that there be more students from Africa coming to the United States. Well, I've got a solution for you. It's a 15-year-old program called the Young African Leaders Initiative that has sent 20,000 vetted, promising African students to the United States. The University of Delaware happens to be one of the 20 hosting universities at a very modest cost that is about.
By the way, they explain this, right? Let me pull a flavor to this. You see the difference between, and by the way, it's not just the United States as a country that African students go to learn. China, African students have been in China and they still going to China. African students have been to Russia, they still going to Russia. African students have been to North Korea and they still going to North Korea. African students have been to Asia and they still going to Asia. And guess what? Those African students that have gone to those parts of the world I just named, they all go back and they become effective or efficient into their respective society or nation or country. And when they go there, that country that they learn in, that country never influenced them to go against their government, to work for the country they learn in foreign policy. No, China have never done that. Russia have never done that. Or even India, African students go to India as well to learn. But when they learn, the government of that country of India do not influence them to manipulate their country interests or to compromise their country interests for the interest of the foreign policy of India. All those African students that have gone to those countries that are named, when they go back to their respective country, they learn, they become effective or productive for their country. All right? India don't put sanction on them. In fact, they don't manipulate them. Unlike the US or UK or France or the West, when these African students go and learn there, and that is why they create this program, they manipulate these students when they go back. And when these students get in power, become representatives, senator, or leaders, or governor, whatever you call it, because they have been brainwashed They work for the interests of the West. They protect the Western foreign policy. They are being reminded that, you know, America is there for you, for your people to come and learn. We do a change. They are being reminded that if you don't do this program will be cut off, and your students, your citizens will not come here. That is what the United States government do. That is what Europe government do. China don't do that. That is why people that go from China, they learn, they go back to Liberia or they go back to their respective countries. China don't influence them to say, if you don't listen to our policy, you will not come here, this program will be cut up. And that is why you see more development in Africa that have been through the how do you call it, the mutual agreement or partnership with China, with Russia, with India, with the Asian country. Unlike the US, no. So that we make that clear here before they talk about their rubbish. But let's continue here. We will get to the main part here.
To be shut down. Not a good idea. It brings promising young African leaders to the United States for a summer to meet with businesses and entrepreneurs, to meet with civil society.
So you see here, right? You're taking a high school student, or let's say a freshman student, to come to the US just for the summer. They come in with business. What a business idea this person get. What is the income that they have to come and do business, to come and collaborate or do a venture or franchise? What investment do they have? They don't control the resources. What do they have there? What is the money that they have to come in? So you see the hypocrisy. You have to think twice. If not, you think these programs are actually good.
To convene in Washington and then go to 20 different states all over the country. One of many things I don't think we should shut down. To the point you just made, Ambassador Gavin, the Millennium Challenge Corporation, MCC, launched under President Bush, explicitly used corruption and combating corruption, reducing corruption as one of the key indicators for whether or not a country would get a long-term development partnership with the United States. It is all but closed. Most of it's.
So you see again, the Millennium Challenge Corporation, whatever they're talking about, right? That was funded by George Bush. It was funded to fight corruption. You see, I don't blame these people, man. I blame these African leaders. Because Washington, D.C. can never function in Africa without African leaders being corrupt. But yet then, they will come and sit in Washington, D.C. and then blame these African leaders of being corrupt. Did you see that? They will blame our senators, our representatives, our government officials of being corrupt. So you see, so that's why the Millennium Challenge was created for. To fight corruption on the African continent. But not to improve education though. Not to carry vocational institution, not to train Africans on how to build factory, to manufacture their resources, to extract their resources. No. But it was funded to battle corruption. It was funded to battle government officials in power. Because when they're talking about corruption, they are not talking about you and I. The common man who go in the market to sell his or her daily bread, who go on a farm. Because when these people come, when they bring a Millennium Challenge or what, when they bring it to Liberia or to Africa, do they take it on a farm in a rural area to help you for corruption? Do they come to you and tell you, oh, you are corrupt? You're not supposed to make farm here. You're not supposed to fish in here. You need to have fishing law. Do they bring it to do that to you? They don't come in the interior. They don't come in the bush. They bring these funds and they give it to the government official. So, in other words, right? Look, these people are so sophisticated. They use these names to say, the Millennium Challenge Corporation Fund, let's be frank, even though few people may benefit because that's incentive. That's what they call incentive to what actually they are coming for. But the reality here is there are budget in there coming to give it to this government official in Africa in order to favor American foreign policy or Western foreign policy, to get their companies to take your man, your lord, your timber, your iron or your uranium, your oil, to take it. All right? And then the incentive, right? They might sponsor a few students so that you can know what's going on. Because if they don't do it, you will start questioning yourself. But this corporation, this Millennium Challenge is here. But what is it doing? It have never benefited any African students or Liberian student or Liberian citizen. So yes, of course, they will have few students around town that will benefit from it. And they use that to write. They use that to put on the internet. But the truth is, they have brought all your corrupt leaders. Why will a corporation be funded to go fight corruption? Really? Then why corruption can't finish? So that means this organization funded by the US, the Millennium Challenge Corporation, it is corrupt. Because they have never ever succeeded in Africa. Never. Of fighting corruption. In fact, corruption becomes rampant when you have these Western organizations. And that is what Abraham Touare is talking about. They should be out. Because these Western corporation, media, entity, NGO, they are corrupt. When they are in your country becomes more corrupt, your government official become more corrupt. Because the issue here is, right, they cannot go past through Abraham Touare for any concession agreement. But if they have democracy, right, it's easy. It's very easy. All they need to do is bribe certain people, few people in there, and those people vote on that concession agreement and go. But if somebody like Abraham Touare and Samuel Keita or Tiani is the heads controlling everything fall under the state, they cannot go to that man. They cannot go to such people. So that is why they'll use the democratic mean to manipulate your government or your people, your officials to run their deed. That is why America will never be satisfied. Europe, the West, they will never ever be satisfied if you don't have what they call civilian government. Meanwhile, America does not practice civilian government. What you see in the US here, that's not civilian government. It is not a civilian government. They already know who the president is. They know it. It is not a civilian government. Don't fool yourself. Do not fool yourself. It is not a civilian government. That is why when something happened here, they lock it down. They said no donation coming from us. Donation come from within. America have never collected donation. If anything happened like disaster, like earthquake or hurricane, yes, they do collect donation. They collect donation, but it never come from us. Because they control everything. They do not want anybody to tell them what they want. They don't want to hear. Because one will feed you, control you, tell you what you're supposed to do. So they will say it clear. Donation come from within. No donation come from us. Why would they want to do that? And you can't sit down and think twice. But let's continue to the main part. They're just laying down the basics. So basically what they're trying to discuss here is all these things have been done on the African continent. But yet they stay. Africans are no longer buying. So what they're doing, they are weighing options. Do we forgo this? Should we leave this? What can we do to improve this? That's what they are doing. Because they cannot go and dissolve the entire system and try to come out with a new system towards Africa. So what they are trying to do, they are going to leave some of the system. So they are brainstorming of what they are going to do now going forth with the African continent. Because they have realized that, look, They can't fight Africa. They know, but they will not come out to tell you we can't fight Africa. Because what happened here, they saw what went on around the world every day. They saw what happened. They saw what happened. They are on their own. They saw it that they are on their own. They are isolated right now. They know it. So what they are doing, they are brainstorming. What can we dissolve? What can we leave in place? That is why they are saying, you know, this was funny, it was funny for this. We cannot eliminate this. They have to stay. I'm just trying to open your mind. What you see going on, you may not understand. Like how we do. But that's the brainstorm going on here. Okay, we can leave this out. Okay, we can leave this out. We need to keep this. And, you know, because there's have brainstorming in the US here. And, you know, there's how we try to, you know, convince them this, that, and, you know, we are partner, we are this. They get to go around the 50 states, you know, because it make their head big. Because they want to come back. Oh, yeah, they can go around the 50 states, you know, they can meet other people and things. So we have to keep that. No, we don't want that. We don't want nothing. People coming to around the 50 state to see 50 state to eat some burger and McDonald's and then go back. What have they done? All those people that came and ate burger around the 50 state and went back to Africa. What did they do? Went back to Liberia. What is the factory they produce there? What is the dividend to Liberia? What is the dividend to Liberia, for example? Let's speak reality here. Because Liberia is one of the countries that had a quality benefit from the so-called Millennium Challenge for you talking about here. What is in Liberia that we can point to about All right, they're trying to mess up my internet because the real are coming. So the Millennium Challenge for me talking about. Did it build cars in Liberia? We got iron ore. If not the first or the second in the world, iron ore. Did they build factory? No. But you look at our iron ore today, America have the largest reserve of iron ore in the world. Meanwhile, no ore in Liberia. Not only that, rubber. If we're not the first, we're the second or the third in the world. Does Liberia have factory in Liberia to produce rubber? No. So what have that Millennium Challenge, that so-called Millennium Challenge done in Liberia? What have they done? What have they done for people to come around the 50 states and pass around and see government officials? See how America is beautiful? See how your road have been built through our iron ore? Oh, see the latest car where our rubbers, our honor cars, Firestone, Brimstone are running under your cars. That's what they're coming to see. So what they're doing, they are brainstorming here. That's what they are doing. It's deeper than this. Just watch. See.
Staff have been laid off. Many of its compacts have been shut down. PEPFAR, Mr. Meservey, is all but closed. It has been trimmed dramatically from its scope. A 25-year-old program, long deserving of bipartisan support. I'd just be interested in both of you briefly saying, what does it do to our reputation on a continent of 54 countries, a continent with enormous human potential?
Imagine a continent that is set as poor. Look, African men, look, it is about time we should know that we are not poor, we are rich, even though we know this, but we have been taking advantage of. Our resources have been looted, and some of that to contribute to the bad leadership we have on the African continent today, like Nigeria. Nigeria alone supposed to supply the entire Africa with gas and oil. Just Nigeria alone. I'm telling you, just Nigeria alone supposed to supply the entire Africa with gas and oil. While the all African nation are even untouched for next generation. I'm telling you, Ghana alone supposed to supply the entire Africa with gold. While the other African nations go are even untouched for the next generation, I'm telling you. Look, even Burkina Faso alone supposed to supply the entire Africa will go. While the other nations go are on reserve. But France have been looting it. If not because of Abraham Traore. Like he said, it is our government today that is producing national gold to be put in our treasure. Which one of the African countries that have gold in our treasure? Name me one. I know you come and tell me South Africa. No. South Africa is a white nation. No matter how you want to take it at your business. South Africa, black South Africa does not have a national reserve gold. Now white people have it. Because white people control it. Didn't you see them saying that in the White House here? And they embarrass Ramaphosa, can embarrass himself. So no African nation have a reserve of gold. It was Libya. But when they say United States went and destroyed Libya and stole their gold, today Libya does not have it. So the only African nation now is Burkina Faso. And now we should be looking at Niger and Mali to come along the line. But no African nation have a reserve of their resources. Don't even talk about Liberia. Once upon a time, if we are not the first yet, but we are the first of iron ore in the world. But Liberia does not have no reserve of iron ore on our own. That America have reserve of it. Once upon a time, we were the leading producer of timber, but Liberia does not have nothing. Even oil was discovered, but Liberia does not benefit from it. Now we have few government officials who are being brave. Will come and tell the Liberian public, Liberia does not have oil. You know, it was said that oil was discovered, but they went to go look at it. And it was, you know, because they know most of the Liberians will not go do research, will not follow these things. And most of them believe Liberia does not have oil. These nations sat down and mocked Africa as poor. But today, Africans are waking up. Now they are coming to say, you see, even when they go to their house, to their White House, when they go to their Congress, every day they say it's about Africa. I'm telling you, it's about Africa. You go to Europe Parliament, Africa. US Parliament, Africa. Canadian Parliament, Africa. UK Parliament, Africa. German Parliament, Africa. France Parliament, Africa. Their entire government around the world, Africa, 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 Africa. European Union, look, if European Union having a meeting, it's Africa. But when will these African leaders sit down and have their own meeting and discuss about Africa? We have other people, other continents, other nations coming together discussing about Africa, what they can do. Not in a positive way, but in a negative way. But we have these African puppets. This African dog, D-O-G. Yes, puppet means dog, it means pet. Small pet. Let's continue.
And natural resources, a country that China and Russia see as the continent of the 21st century. What's it do to our place in East Africa and across the continent if we...
So you see, a continent of the 21st century. But no, Africa been beyond that. The first century, Africa been there from the first century, all the way to the 21st century. It is the same Africa that made America it is today. It is the same Africa that made Europe the way it is today. So it is not the 21st century. No, it is Africa that made you to be in our seat. That made America today where everybody wants to come to see greener pasture. It is the same Africa and African people. It is the same Africa and African people that made Europe to be the way it is. That today, Africans have to die on the Mediterranean Sea to cross to go to the sea in Europe. It is the same Africa and the African people. So no, it is not just the 21st century, that Africa, it has been seen, that Africa is being known. No, you damn bloody sucker.
Abruptly shut down these long-standing demonstrated and effective programs. Madam Ambassador, and then Mr. Meservey.
I often joke that I'm retired, but in reality, it's just that I get to live my dream of being a full-time teacher.
Thank you, Senator. It is incredibly self-defeating, is my view. I just don't understand why we are taking a bunch of tools in our foreign policy toolbox and tossing them into a dumpster.
Okay, so it is devastating. So it is today now that they know everything that they have been doing in Africa. It is a dump stop. Everything they have been doing, it is actually garbage. It is actually rubbish. Because Africans are waking up now. Because Africans have come to the realization that America does not mean good to them. Oh yes, it is the same America that has been vetoing every progress of Africa. It is the same America that vetoed for Africa to have a permanent seat on the United Nations. It is the same America that said if Africa have a permanent seat, if Africa have a veto power, the United Nations will become dysfunctional. So it is today that they know that everything that they have been planning for Africa, everything that they thought was good for Africa, or they thought we're going to remain under that spell. So now they are saying it is rubbish, it is garbage. So now they are saying, all along, they have been putting it in garbage. So now they are saying, what China and Russia are doing on the African continent, it is not garbage. But what they are doing, what they have been doing, it is rubbish and garbage. You heard what they said. You heard what the woman said. It is deeper to this, folks. Let's continue. And all this happening now because they love Africa. That's why they're saying the truth. Don't get it twisted. All this happening now because they have come to the realization that, you know what? Enough is enough. No, it is happening because Africans have realized that these people are hateful. They don't love Africa. They don't love African. They are realizing it because we are telling them in their faces that we don't need you anymore. They are realizing it because they know that they are in a bad position. So they are brainstorming. Because they are propaganda, they thought we were going to hate Russia and China. Because they did everything they could. They did all their propaganda. Because America is never in a position to come and tell Africans that Russia is coming to colonize you. Because if somebody else is to tell us Africans that Russia is coming to colonize you, not Europe, not America. They are never in a position to tell us Russia and China are coming to enslave you. If anybody should do it, not Europe, not America. Facts.
I think the term was a wood chipper.
Okay, I suppose so.
It's tougher to reassemble things that have been put through a wood chipper than things that have gone through a reasoned, considerable review, which is the process that reforms have gone through.
So you heard what I said. Like I said, they are brainstorming to see what they can leave and what they can take out. You heard what he said. It is difficult to reprocess this, that, because the reason why it's difficult, we don't want nothing from them. We are saying we don't want IMF, we don't want RB Bank or whatsoever bank, IMF or what they call the other one, World Bank. We don't need them. We are saying we don't need their NGO no more because their NGO have been exposed. Africa have been exposed as they want to support terrorists. Oh yes, it's not the African been training leaders or other African to remove African democratic leader. Yes, that's them. You heard them in their parliament, in their Congress, they said it. So they know that all the products they have brought to us, if are no good, They know that we know it. They know that we have lost interest in our NGO, in our military corporation, in everything. In fact, they are vaccine. They brought HIV. Didn't they bring HIV? They themselves said it. You think HIV came from heaven? HIV was a bioweapon that was brought to us through vaccine. Oh, you know, your children had to take polio vaccine. Even polio vaccine. Your children, and then they brought polio vaccine. They start putting it on. Now in Australia, in Kenya, they sterilized our girls that they couldn't get birth. So they have realized that every product they brought to us was all chaos, was destruction, was sickness, bioweapons. Nothing. So now they are sitting there embarrassed. What can we do now? Let's continue. It's deeper to this. Let's think.
Through is to have this body, Congress, work with the new administration to say, okay, trim this, reform this, change this, shutter this, expand this.
You heard them saying it, right? Like I said, they are brainstorming. Okay, change this, do this, reform this, let's do this, let's change this, let's come this. You heard what they said. So my question here is, right, let me say this, African. Let me say this. Do we still trust the US? No, we are not asking because we are talking our opinion. These are the people, because they themselves, they know that their system failed. They know that their system was not a system to empower you. So do you still trust them? I just asked a question. You can answer that. Let's continue.
That's not what happened.
No, it's not. And not only have we lit our credibility on fire, and you see particularly China making hay of this, the favorite phrase now is reliable partner. China's a reliable partner. They're not going to abruptly pull the rug out from under you. And
let me say this, even as they are brainstorming here, right? What happened here is they are still blaming China because China came and spoiled business for them. They are still blaming Russia because Russia came and spoiled business for them. I mean, look, I listened to this video, right? I couldn't comprehend. I was shocked. They are blaming China because China came and spoiled business. Russia came and spoiled business. Do you still trust these people? Because the Bible said, be careful with them. Their words are smooth and soft like butter or oil. But war and sword are in their hearts, are in their hands. They wasn't talking about some how do you call it, elephant from the bush, or some kind of how do you call it, dragon. No, they were talking about physical human beings, and they are talking about them.
I think that, some of the kind of knock-on effects, consider the tens of thousands of health workers in Kenya who are out of work now. These are educated, engaged.
Listen to this, right? You see here, we just mentioned Kenya, right? There was a report. So you see what they do? They go and train certain people. And then these people don't know the vaccine they gave to their own people is a vaccine that will destroy them. But these people want job because, first of all, no job. And that is why we keep telling our African leaders, do the right thing. And this is what Abraham Traore is fighting for. Then you have some dumb, stupid African dog Western puppet, yeah. Western puppet means you are a dog to the West. D-O-G-C-A-T. Because puppet means, in French, P-U-P. Poop, it means small. And then P-E-T, that English word, it means pet. So it's a French and English word combined, gave you a puppet, which means small pet. Or which means pet. You see? That is what the Sahel nation are fighting for. Provide job. Provide opportunity for your people. And your people will stop being manipulated. And the West will not just come, the Western nation will not just come and bring their HIV, their polio, or their how they call it, vaccine to sterilize your women or your girls' children. And then use a couple of your people who, in their mind, they are medically trained. They are medical, how they call it, they are professionals, how they call it, nurse or whatsoever. And then you will not have these Western organizations come and hire them. Because in their mind, they are hired because their country can hire them. They graduated from, how they call it, nursing school, and they had their degree. But their country can hire them because you are damn corrupt. So in the Western nation come with their companies, with their NGO, and hire them. What do you think? And more especially, they pay them in US dollar. They ain't pay them in your local currency. They pay them in US dollar. What do you think they will do? And they will take their vaccine and put it into your people. And that's what happened in Kenya. They sterilized our girls, our women. And then one time they couldn't get breath. There was a report. And most of these people that took that vaccine, they went for checkout. When they go look, their record proved that all of them that took that vaccine, they couldn't get breath no more. When they went for tests, all of them took the vaccine. And that's where these things come from. And that is why Abraham Traore said, no more, it can't happen. So you see what they do.
Citizens and you know, the messaging we want to do about this long relationship with Kenya, it's at odds with their lived experience now. And
I'm about out of time. I've got less than a minute.
Sorry.
Mr. Meservey, if I might. I do agree that a bright spot is the hard work done under the previous administration by Avril Haines in DRC, Rwanda, and it's continuing under Special Advisor Boulos. There's a real chance of peace there. I can't think of a more concentrated example of the PRC-US competition than the two adjacent bases in Djibouti. I've just introduced with Senator Ricketts a bill to try and prioritize focusing on denying the PRC.
Look, this is sad, man. How can, oh God, how can someone sit in a country and discuss an entire continent if to say the continent is for them? So is this why these guys, is this why the American people elect these guys to discuss about Africa? Man, these people go to Congress. They discuss an entire African continent if to say we don't have leaders. You see, when we're talking about unity, you see what the youth are talking about, unity coming together to, you see what happening? Because now these people, they can't talk, when they're talking about Africa now, they are not talking about the Sahel nation. They're not talking about Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. Never. They are talking about the rest of the other African nations, not Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. You see what unity do? Do you understand the importance of unity? And that is why the youth of Africa today, both home and abroad, are talking about unification. Because how can the US Congress sit down and discuss an entire African continent of how they want it to be? Really? How can the United States Congress decide how Africa should be?
More basing opportunities on the continent. What do you think we ought to make a priority in doing that important work?
Yeah, thank you, Senator, and I'm very pleased to hear about the bill and your attention to this problem. I would especially highlight the danger of an Atlantic Ocean base. We know quite reliably that China has been pursuing such a base for years. It's not hard to see how problematic that would be for.
Hello, my name is Adam Ferrari, the Chief Executive Officer of Phoenix Energy. I look forward to you joining us.
Security of the American homeland. So I think
So, I want to say something here. They talk about China in Africa, and then they say how it will bring insecurity to the American homeland. I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe, I don't know how you understanding it. I don't know. Maybe, tell me something. Maybe you got it. You got the understanding better than me. But why will China in Africa have to do something with the American homeland? How?
I mentioned in my original remarks that commercial engagement should be at the heart of a strategy. And I think we need to start giving African countries more of what they want and less of what.
Now we get into the partner. After they have discussed about everything, organization, this, that, right? This is where we're coming at. You heard what I said? We need to start giving African countries what they want. Then we giving to them what we want. Listen to this. You know why I say this? You know why they're saying this? They are saying this because the truth here is they are actually saying China have a better relationship with Africa. They are actually saying Russia have a better relationship with Africa than the US and UK or Europe. That is what exactly they are saying. They are actually saying what they have been, the partnership they have been with Africa, it have never been good. It have always been toxic. It have always been sanctioned. It have always been cut off supply. Oh yes, when they read it, oh, we're going to cut off food supply. We're going to cut off, I don't call it, go. You see all this nonsense? So you see what happening now? We get into the main part. You heard what he said. We should start giving to Africans what they want versus what we want for them. You heard it? We should start listening to Africans.
They don't. That seems like an obvious proposition, but frequently our Africa strategy doesn't seem to be guided by that principle. So the existential.
You heard what he said? It seems to be our African strategy now is not being guided by that principle. You heard it. These people are wicked. These people are wicked.
Crisis that every African government faces is youth unemployment. Yep. And our development assistance and humanitarian assistance, as useful as that is in some contexts, is not going to address those problems. So I think
I do think that the Development Finance Corporation and the MCC really focused on private sector partnerships that fuel growth from the bottom up. I think to the extent we.
So you see what they're doing down there? Brainstorming, right? Our development deals with partnership, this, that. It have never worked. So now they are saying, okay, the team, are working on that. Look, man, come on, man. I mean, it's getting to me. Why would these people discuss the African continent like they have to say we don't have leader? Why? Why? What is wrong with our leaders? Do they really enjoy being puppet? Do they really enjoy being called US dog or US cat or US small dog, small puppet? Do they really enjoy being put on leash? See what these people are discussing here like this. A whole continent with billions of people. And you're discussing it like this? You see the disrespect. To even say we have to give to African what African want, because what we've been doing, that strategy is now no longer working.
We can focus our messaging, our investments, and our partnerships on combating corruption, on being a secure and reliable partner, and on helping create reliable, high-growth jobs. This continent of 4 billion people by the end of this century is a place where we can win in the competition with China. And if we don't, if we continue our retreat, we won't.
You heard it. We have to change our strategy. If we don't change our strategy and we continue to retreat, we lose. We become terror war. You heard it? We can't continue to retreat. We need to come up with a different system. We need to build our relationship. We need to step up our game. Because China and Russia have come and diluted the entire system for us. They go against our policy in Africa. Now African people have woke up. So we don't have resources to retreat. We don't have enough resources to retreat. Because Africa have vast majority of resources unfinished. It keep coming. It can never be depleted. It just keep reproducing. So if we back off, we don't change our policy. If we back off, we lose. We become terror. Did you see that? Did you hear it? And we can back off. We don't want to lose Africa. Because Africa is our hope. Africa has been our hope. Africa is our hope. Now that they have realized who we are, we need to change. We need to stop this colonial mentality, this oppressive mentality. We need to stop killing their leaders. You see that? You heard that? If we continue to retreat, we lose. We become terror. You heard that? Let's continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks to the witnesses for your helpful testimony. I want to return to the chairman's opening comments where he introduced an article into the record and talked about the recent discussion of the Kenyan president in China about this new world order. Let me read from an article that I'd like introduced in the record. Kenya calls for a new world order that reflects global South realities. And this is from KBC Digital, the Kenya Broadcasting Company, if I could introduce it into the record. From April 23, just recently. Speaking during a public lecture at Peking University in Beijing, President William Ruto emphasized the need to fashion a new world order which takes cognizance of present realities. The president who was in China for a state visit, okay, China is welcoming the Kenyan president for a state visit, said this: the ongoing trade tariff wars could signal the end of the old world order as it has existed since the end of World War II. And further, regarding the relationship between Kenya, China, and the rest of the world, Ruto remarked that Kenya and China are not just trade partners, but, quote, co-architects of a new world order. So his comments are putting the U.S. in the old world order that has not helped the global South. This is what he is asserting, whether or not it's true, how true it is. He's suggesting that the trade wars might be the destruction of the old world order and the creation of a new world order where China and Kenya and other nations focus more attention on the global South. How do we get to a place where the president of Kenya, where we've had this long relationship just 2 weeks ago, is
Listen to this. The point here is, right? The point here is, what did we do that William Ruto, we thought he was our puppet. We thought he was our dog that we have on a leash. What happened that he have turned to China? On the other side, he's about to expose us. You see? What happened of William Ruto that he have gone on the other side? What happened? One of our puppets just left.
Making those assertions in the middle of a state visit to China. I do think comments that have been made by my colleagues, the recent apparent abandonment of PEPFAR, the defunding of USAID, NED, the DFC, the MCC, the YALI program, which also has a presence at the University of Virginia. AFRICOM is not based in Africa and has perennially been under-resourced. It's based in Germany. Picking a fight with South Africa, a pretty important nation, and labeling them.
Now, let me clarify this. He made a statement here. I don't know if you guys understood it, right? Let me detail it. Now, he's saying William Ruto left and went to China, right? And then talking about, the New World Order, this, that, right? And then William Ruto now put the United States in the old world order. No, we don't want to be under the old world order. That's William Ruto, basically what he's trying to say. William Ruto left the old world order, now going to the New World Order, which is China and Russia, right? And along with the rest of the world. Now, the New World Order, what does that mean? The New World Order is, right, as I'll put it, maybe according to the BRICS nation, the New World Order is not dictating to any nation on how to manage your resources. You will come over resources and we do battle system. And that's, in fact, that's the system that has been in Africa throughout. You will come over resources, we do battle system. You heard Abraham Traore when he went to Russia. What Abraham Traore said? He make it clear. He make it clear that, yes, Russia want our resources. That is clear. But equally so, there is something Russia got, we won. And it is that, how to call it, modern technology. We want that modern technology. We want that modern education. We want to get it so that we can be able to build ourselves, empower ourselves. Russia, imagine, he talked about the Russian military, how they were defeated in World War II, right? The Soviet Union, right? But later on, they came back, they built themselves, and today they have the one of or the strongest military in the world that they can defeat anybody, right? And he said, that's what we want to. We need that knowledge to build our army, because in order to have a nation, you have to have an army. You cannot have a nation and you have foreign military in your nation and you call it independent. That is not independent, because they will tell you what to do, how many military you should have, how many equipment you should have, in fact, how to train or build your military. And that's what he said. And he said that is why they couldn't defeat terrorists. And he said, since they drove out the French or the foreign military, they are even succeeding in fighting terrorists. And he said they will make sure Burkina Faso or the Sahel nation, right, be a no-go zone for terrorists. If any terrorist try it, it's like you look at a hot iron, a hot heated iron, and you're going through it, and you know what will happen to you. You see? So that's what he said. He said, yes. I mean, in partnership, nobody coming to partnership with you for free. So he made it clear. Yes, Russia coming to get something from us, but equally so, we need to get something from Russia to build ourselves. The US have never done it. Europe have never done it. And that is why they are sitting here brainstorming as to what they can do. Now, he said something about Ruto. Let me clarify that before we continue with the video, right? What he didn't explain here for people to understand, but the people in there understood because the deal was cool. He talked about USAID. Basically, what he's trying to say is William Ruto is greedy. Because he talked about USAID being gone away. AFRICOM, right? AFRICOM, that now it is not being wanted by Africans. Africans are kicking out AFRICOM. And it is true, AFRICOM, people are William Ruto, they've been getting money. It is true that USAID, people are William Ruto and the corrupt African leaders been getting money. But now USAID have been exposed. and Africa no longer want USAID. And our program is gone because they were using USAID, getting American taxpayer money, and then bribing African leaders and then sponsoring terrorists. Now those people are not there. When you see African leaders have not been forceful about fighting terrorists, you should know they have been benefiting from terrorist activities on the African continent. Now I see why African leaders have not been talking about coming together to fight terrorists, because this is where their fundings have been coming. They are all been part of the terrorist activities. I see. So now this congressman is telling us, because those funds are no longer available coming in, William Ruto now have to go to China to go look for a new place of funding. Let's continue.
As committing genocide against Afrikan farmers, accepting Afrikaner refugees while we're shutting off.
Okay, there's another point he's trying to make here, right? They feel that Donald Trump brought white people, Afrikaner, right, about genocide. What the senator is trying to say, you heard from the beginning, he said, let me paraphrase it. Don't you think we will be putting ourselves, because he said what? South Africa is, because let's think, these people, they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. You see the decision Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso took? Look, there are few countries in Africa, if they made that decision, it's done for the West. If South Africa take that decision of the Sahel nation, it's done for Europe and America. If Nigeria take it, it's done. If Ghana take it, it's done. Those three nations are just called South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana. If they take that stand, it's done for the West. It's done from America. It's done. They are done. That's why before he made a statement, before the post came out, he said, South Africa is a big economy. South Africa is a great nation. South Africa is rich in mineral resources that we want. We have to be careful here on how to approach this Afrikaner issue of refugee. Because if South Africa dare turn their back, we are done. Let me take the video back so you can listen before coming. Look, pay attention here.
As committing genocide against Afrikan farmers, accepting Afrikaner refugees while we're shutting off other refugees from Africa. Mr. Servi, you used to work with Church World Service. Church World Service work on refugee issues has been dramatically curtailed. The church I go to is heavily Congolese refugees who have been resettled in Richmond by Catholic Refugee Service. Their work has been curtailed. You know, we don't get the benefit of the doubt necessarily, and people look at evidence and they interpret it as to what it means. And what they're interpreting, the evidence that I've cited and other bits of evidence, is that the U.S. is, you know, to put it charitably, uninterested, and to put it not so charitably, affirmatively disinterested. And that leads a president like President Ruto to make those kinds of comments, almost gleefully hoping that Donald Trump's tariff war will destroy the world order that the U.S. created in the aftermath of World War II, to the benefit not only of the United States, but other nations all over the world. We've got to reverse this. We have to reverse it. And I hear this all over Latin America as I travel there. We'd rather deal with you than with China. I think in the Americas, there's even a closer cultural connection because of migration patterns and family ties, but there are with Africa as well. We'd rather deal with you than China, but you got to have something on the table. And China does, and they're not going anywhere. And yeah, the conditions may be bad, and yeah, there's strings attached, and yeah, they may not perform, but they got something on the table. What do you have on the table? The things we've had on the table are being hollowed out.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to start by adding to, I think, some of the sentiments expressed that we have a colossal problem right now by our failing to understand that if you look at all of humanity, the future is in so many ways Africa. We have 1 out of every 4 people on the planet Earth, and by 2050 are going to be on the continent, 1 out of every 3 working age people. The continent is indispensable when it comes to the future strength, opportunities, prosperity, health of Americans.
Let's see, folks. Let me clap for this black congressman. He spoke the truth. You heard that. Even though we know it, right? We know it. But you heard what he said. You heard what he said. I mean, he went blank. Look, we failed the continent. We have lied to the continent. We have depleted the continent. We have killed their good leaders. We have created proxy war. We have created poverty. We have created chaos. And the place Africa is right now, look, billions of people, and in the next few years, billion. And not only that, they will have brain. And because they have the resources that is undepleted, everybody survive on this African continent. And in the next few years to come, if we don't build a good relationship with Africa, it will not be good for us. They will treat us the way they want to treat us. I mean, did you see the fear in this man's eye? Even though he's one of us. But did you see the look in his eye? He is telling these people, look, don't take this to be formed. Because these Africans are ready. They are not looking back. They have given all the chains upon chains upon chains upon chains. And see what we have done to them. Did you see the look in his face? I mean, he sat down quietly. All of them thought they are BS and bullshit they want to say. And he came out straight to tell them, look, let me say what I want to say. It is the truth. We have done the horrible thing against these people, against this African continent. And the reality here is, they have the largest, of young folks, labor force in the world. So this continent is going nowhere. And this continent have reserve of resources. In fact, it has been discovered in Zimbabwe. They just discovered 3 trillion worth of gold, just gold. Zimbabwe, 3 trillion. That's what I was saying, man. One African nation can supply the entire African continent with just gold, and the rest of the African nations, they are gold being in reserve. That's Nigeria can satisfy our oil and gas. The rest of the African nations, the oil and gas being on reserve. Mali, Niger, that Niger alone can supply the entire African continent with light. DRC Congo, the richest nation in the world, can supply us the entire African continent. These people know. So that's why this brother sat down there, look on his face, telling them in their faces, look, you guys are playing phone. Because right now, it's not fun. We are in danger.
They don't believe how toxic this is. If you're still using a plastic or wooden cutting board, you need to hear this.
It is stunning to me. 1 out of every 3 working age people. The continent is indispensable when it comes to the future strength, opportunities, prosperity, health of Americans. It is stunning to me that we are lacking a vision for.
So you hear it. Now, some of you white folks, I'll be blunt on this. Like, love, go back where you're coming from. You don't like it here? Look, if we go back, you know what's going to happen to you? Your lawmaker just said it. Your congressman just said it. America will never survive in the future coming without Africa. Never. You heard your lawmaker. So when you're ready, go back to Africa. When African people want to talk about, what need to be given to them, go back to Africa where you came from. If you don't like it here, you don't know what is coming. You don't even know. And your lawmaker know it. So the next time you telling a black man, go back to where you're coming from. If you don't like it here, you better check yourself. Because Because if that black man go back, oh my God. Let's continue.
Engagement with the continent and are making such colossal mistakes. What the Trump administration is doing right now is not only unacceptable, but it is a series of self-inflicted wounds when we cut the kind of programs that have created economic stability and opportunity for American companies, that have gutted public health and our response to public health, because a public health crisis anywhere now is a threat to public health everywhere. We are stopping, especially as we see the Tanzania elections and the Uganda elections and the instabilities there, we're cutting back our resources, helping with democratic stability at a time that democracies are under retreat all across the globe, and the democratic freedoms and ideals that we preach are being undermined by forces that don't share our values.
Again, they want to put a blame on China and Russia about forces that don't share our value. The truth here is, right, stop putting blame on Russia and China. It's not true that democracy is being undermined by forces that don't share your value. It's not true. The truth here is you don't believe in democracy. Why did you kill Gaddafi? Why did you fight to remove Nkrumah? You wanted to assassinate him. Why did you kill Patrick Lumumba? Why did you kill Thomas Sankara? Hey? Hey? Why did you kill Steve Biko? Hey? Why did you kill Amilcar Cabral? Hey? Matter of fact, let me take this out. Let me take this out here. Let me put something out here.
Who were brutally assassinated, many under circumstances linked to world powers and foreign interests. Patrice Lumumba from the Democratic Republic of Congo in 1961, assassinated with the backing of Belgium and the CIA due to his strong nationalist stance and alignment with the Soviet Union. Thomas Sankara from Burkina Faso in 1987. The revolutionary leader was assassinated in a coup led by Blaise Compaoré with alleged support from France and other foreign interests. Sylvanus Olympio from Togo in 1963. Togo's first president was assassinated in a coup suspected to be influenced by France after he sought economic independence from the former colonial power. Amilcar Cabral from Guinea-Bissau and Cape Verde in 1973. The independence leader was assassinated, reportedly with the involvement of Portuguese intelligence due to his fight against colonial rule. Marian Ngouabi from the Republic of Congo in 1977. The socialist-leaning president was assassinated under suspicious circumstances, with theories pointing to both internal and external forces. Anwar Sadat from Egypt in 1981. Though killed by domestic Islamist militants, his assassination was linked to tensions arising from the Camp David Accords and foreign policy shifts. Samora Machel from Mozambique in 1986 died in a mysterious plane crash near the South African border, widely believed to have been orchestrated by apartheid-era South Africa with possible Western backing. Before I tell you the last 3 African leaders who were brutally assassinated, like this video to help Africa Rise reach more people. Melchior Ndadaye from Burundi in 1993. Burundi's first democratically elected president was assassinated in a coup with suspicions of external interference due to his efforts at reconciliation. Laurent Désiré Kabila from the Democratic Republic of Congo in 2001. Assassinated under murky circumstances with speculation linking his death to Western interests due to his policies against foreign exploitation of Congo's resources. Muammar Gaddafi from Libya in 2011. Brutally killed after NATO-led intervention, following his push for African financial independence and resistance to Western influence in Africa. This list highlights how global powers have historically played a role in the elimination of African leaders who resisted external control. Don't forget to subscribe or follow us.
So exactly, that is why We do not trust American democracy. We do not trust you when you come to preach about democracy. That is why we do not trust you when we even have an election for you to come there. Because you manipulate these elections. So you see, so don't talk about, oh, because of foreign, how they call it, influence or power. I don't like our policy, democratic policy on the African continent. So are you telling me we don't make decisions for ourselves? Are you telling us we don't think for ourselves? You see, that is your arrogance. That is your arrogance that put you in that position. These are leaders that you kill. These are democratic leaders that you kill. So are you telling me we don't know our own history? No. And not China that educating us. And not Russia that educating us. No. We know our relationship with China. We know our relationship with Russia. And we know our relationship with you, America. We know our relationship with you, Europe. Our relationship with China and Russia is not as the same as you and Europe. One is good, one is bad, and yours is bad, yours is bad. Let us be frank here. All those leaders that you saw, none of them was ever influenced to be killed by Russia or China. But all by you, US, CIA. And even in addition to that, the first African leader to be killed in the 1871 was E.J. Raw from Liberia. The CIA killed him. An African American that migrated from here in 1946, let's say 1746. 1730, his father died. 1840, his father died. 1830, his father died, sorry. And then 1840, the numbers are too much in my head. 1840, the father died. And then 1847, he found himself in Liberia. And then he became Speaker of the House. And then 1865, he became how do you call it? Chief Justice. And in 1780, he became the president. Because and then you see, E.J. Raw, he was never taken by the ACS. You see, all the people that was taken by the ACS, by the so-called ACS, along with the United States government, those people were there. Those people were manipulated. Those are the people that when you see Liberia today, they call the Congo, they manipulated them. They were the rebellious slave. But the people that migrated from here by themselves that went to Liberia, they were never part of the Congo people. And E.J. Raw was one of them. 1871, he became a president, and then he wanted to open the country to the native people. He said, no, these are our people. We were treated in America unjustly. We can't come here and then we allow America to come and to treat these people unjustly. E.J. Raw decided to open the country to the native men, and the CIA killed him. The CIA came trouble again. The terror came dough. So, and now Russia are educating us. We see vividly what you have done and what you still doing. In our eyes, this 21st century, you kill Gaddafi. You put sanctions on leaders that you can't kill. You stuck in there in their nation. And then you want to talk about people who don't allow with your foreign policy or your democratic policy and the people are making things difficult for you. No, we are tired with you. You are hypocrite. We have come to realize you mean no good for Africa. Because the stage Africa is in today, it is because of Russia and China. They are on the agreement that they have. So if you see Africa building today, that's China, that's Russia. Even if we bury our own military equipment today, that's China, not Russia. Not America, not Europe. Anyway, this is today's discussion. I'll stop here today. That was a discussion for Ramaphosa, and that was a discussion for the United States Congress. They have said in our video, Africa will become, America, Europe, they will become tier war. And their fear here is, they have to be skeptical or careful on how to handle this African refugee issue. Because in South Africa, they're turning back. What's going to happen? It gave room for Nigeria. It gave room for Ghana. And those three nations, that's it. That's it. And the rest of the nation follow. It's finished. It will be done for them. Because first of all, it is our three nation that is holding AU. That three nation didn't want holding AU. And then the other two nations, they didn't want actually holding ECWA, the so-called stupid ECWA, Nigeria and Ghana. Those are the two nations holding ECWA. And we know what AU stands for? And not African Union. The American Union. AU is American Union. In collaboration with what? Europe. AU is American, how they call it, European Union. AU, American European Union, as we'll call it. And then ECWA is the same American European, organization too. It's not African. So if Ghana turn today, Nigeria turn today, ECWA is done. And I mean it's done for Europe and America. If South Africa done today, Nigeria done today, Ghana done today, that means it's done with AU. Who went to AU meeting? In the first place, no African youth believe in AU again, even ECWA. That is why they are silent. That is why yesterday was May 25th. What you have about AU? Because that's AU Day, May 25th. That's AU Day. Who heard about them? They are dead. Anyway, African both home and abroad, we are winning. We are winning. And the truth is, America, we don't trust you no more. How are we going to trust you? Since the 1600s, we trusted you up to the 21st century. And now you're realizing what you have done to us was inhumane. You know how long we turn our values? You backslap us? Come on, America. We no longer trust you. The children of Africa, both home and abroad, have realized they are common enemies. And they have united. No turning back. No looking back. Those that want to come, let them come. But we don't trust you no more. And we will never trust you. Never. Never. Hillary Clinton told us never to trust the US. Because she told us they were behind Gaddafi for 30 years. 30 good years. They were behind him to kill him. And they used the black men to kill him. So Hillary told us we should never trust you. So we don't trust you. No matter what you do, you can change your system. You can do what? At the place we are now, we're moving. Because we have come to realize, plus you, minus you, we are moving. We don't care. You can change your system. You can rebrand yourself. We don't care. Because at the end of the day, we know rebranding is the same people. You just changing your name, but it's the same people. So it's the same business. We don't trust you. We will never trust you. And we don't care whether you become terror country, terror continent. We don't care. What we want is, we want you to come to our immigration too. And we deny you. That's what we want. We want you to come to our immigration so you can be denied. And we eat your money. And nothing comes from Isa. Yes. That's what we want. We ain't going to lynch you. We're not going to castrate you. We're not going to feed you to alligator. We're not going to barbecue you. We're not going to put you in prison. We care less to do with that. But when you come to our immigration, when we deny you, we deny you. We take your money We put in our system, we build our system with it. Nothing wrong with that. Those that we want to let in, we let them in. And when they come, we get an orientation. Oh, don't you want to be oriented too? That's why you're afraid of? You don't want to become terror? No empire stay the same. You once destroy Africa. We're not coming to destroy your empire. Our unity, that's what we want. Your unity did not destroy our empire. No, your unity did not destroy our empire. It was your savage behavior that destroyed our empire. Because you were cutting people's hands, cutting people's legs, putting HIV in us, putting TB in us, sterilizing our body. That's how you destroy our empires. Burning our library to destroy evidence. Destroying our culture. That's how you destroy our empire. And then took our identity and make it your identity. You took our story and changed it into Bible and put your picture there. That's how you destroy our empire. We care less to do with that. We're not going to take your artifact. You took our artifact, you take it. In your museum, you're making billion trillions of dollars. You don't want to return it. You get artifact. You don't even have artifact. You don't even have nothing for us to take. I mean, you see it from the video you watch, or you yourself, how Africa is the future of the 21st century. If Europe and America ever break away, they will become terror. So what they need to do is to re-strategize and rebrand and give to Africa what Africa needs. We don't need you. Because we have realized that you have nothing to give us. We don't really need you. Yes, what we want is keep telling us, right? You don't like it, go back to Africa. That's what we want. Because you will keep telling us that we keep building ourselves. And when we build ourselves, boy. Peace, folks. I'll see you on Saturday and next Sunday.
The white power structure, because that's all we have in America. And the white power structure today is just as much interested in perpetuating slavery as the white power structure was 100 years ago. Only now they use modern methods of doing so. And realizing that the black people in this country are waking up and becoming filled with a desire to be looked upon as men and as human beings.